take roll call. Richard Birch.
Present.
Carl Luck.
Present.
Ken Jones.
Here.
Jack Rabbit.
Here.
Bob Pease.
Yes.
Katie Childs.
Here.
And I'm Todd Dwyer.
Don't forget to note that because Rich is remotely participating, all votes will be taken by roll call.
Thanks. I don't think I could forget that. But because Richard Birch is participating remotely, we're going to take all votes tonight via roll call. Any announcements from the commission?
I met today with the GIS people at Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. It appears later in the agenda, the grant opportunities?
Yeah.
Yes. Under new business.
So, I'll wait till then, never mind.
Very good.
We had a meeting in Stormwater.
Yes.
Committee meeting today. In fact, Carl was a guest visitor, and we had a chance to sit down and go over the bids for the stormwater support from the consultants. There was a little bit of surprise. The budget is very tight, and they came in quite a bit over. We are absolutely committed to working every penny out of it. We pushed a lot of ideas around, and we're still in negotiations. But the reality is we have to have all this paperwork put together by the end of June and submitted. So the heat is on. Is that fair, Carl? Yeah, good summary.
All right. Any other announcements from the commission? If there are no announcements from the commission, any public comment? See no comment from the public, so let's open our first hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended in the Town of Lunenburg, Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Michael and Barbara Coulombe for demolition and reconstruction to a single-family home with grounds work, including the removal of 2 trees within the buffer zone at 98 Horizon Island Road.
Good evening. Steve Marsden representing the Coulombs. Tonight from Marsden Engineering. There's a bullet. I was asked by one of the commissioners at the site walk to bullet some of the items so that it would be easy to follow. There was also a question on the site walk to make it more apparent, which is it wasn't clear from the plan that was submitted what was proposed and what was existing. So that shows the red and black to show you that what's proposed and what's existing is essentially the same. So I'll just go over briefly. This is 98 Horizon Island Road. The house is an existing dwelling with a septic system that was upgraded to the jet not too long ago. So it's got a waste treatment facility on site. It's served by town water. The existing dwelling is a single-story on slab. The structure itself is in repair, needing a repair, and the slab never had any frost walls or frost footings, so it has no ability to repair it in the code. So when the Coombs decided that they would just as soon replace the dwelling. So we're going to replace it in kind in the same location with some reductions in impact and some minor changes. So I'll just go over briefly. The house will be in exactly the same location, so we're not changing the location. Be the same square footage, exact same size. We are making some improvements in regards to the Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Bylaw. There's a shed there which is labeled to be removed.
It's existing.
Yeah, the house is. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Did you have a
no problem.
No, we just got a quick question.
Yeah, no, by all means.
Yeah, the property itself, the house itself is exactly in the same location. That wraparound deck, is that the same?
No, that's new.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we just wondered, that's what we were confused about. Okay, thank you.
So the removal of the shed, which is in the 30-foot no-touch. There's also some asphalt walks, which we went around and pointed out at the site walk. In addition, there's tar paper under a significant portion of the stone walk, which will be removed as well. So there will be a total impervious removed on the site within the 30-foot no-touch of 722 square feet, and that removal of that shed, which is in the 30-foot no-touch, so that'll be removed from the site.
What was the square footage? I'm sorry.
722 square feet of impervious. There will be a small change in the front of the house, and that's where we're changing it to a prow, and actually that reduces the impact in the 30-foot no-touch. So there'll be a 25 square foot reduction in the 30-foot no-touch. So where that point goes out into the area which is outside that 30-foot no-touch. Will also be currently the runoff from the roof just sheds onto the asphalt walkway. So we'll be putting in gutters and recharge, because part of the construction here is I'm going to put in a full foundation, so I'll be able to put drainage in and take care of recharging all of the roof drainage via gutters and downspouts. There's not going to be any change in the landscaping, so the site will remain the same with the exception of the building and the deck. In the original application, I had made reference to 2 trees which are adjacent to the house, which are on the revised plan that I sent out. I bubbled the things that the Conservation Commission had requested from the site visit. But the 2 trees are adjacent to the house. There's one tree which is overhanging the house and damaged, another one up at the front of the house which has a significant hook on it and is damaged and dying. And then the property owner pointed out to me that there are 2 trees which are out at the point, small trees, 6-inch diameter or less, that have also died. They were damaged in the windstorms, the tops came off, and so the trees have died. So there will be a total of 4, but all of them are damaged or dying trees that need to be removed for safety reasons. The deck, as you pointed out, will be new, but the location of the deck will be within what is currently disturbed, so we won't be doing anything further. The asphalt walkway, which we'll be removing, is on the left side of the house, and there's an existing stone walkway on the right side of the house, and then the asphalt walkway in the front of the house. The deck will be pervious, so that's not considered impervious surface. Also in the site walk, we talked about access to the basement, and you asked for a detail. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but the architectural plans have been completed, and the request was made specifically that we keep any and all disturbance within that walkway on the side of the house.
Just take do you need these back, Steve?
Nope. Just for the commission. So that walkway on the side of the house, there was stone, and then there was a rock wall, if you remember from the walk. So any and all disturbance will be within that crushed stone walkway, so we won't go outside that at all. And I've shown that. It's detailed here on my plan, and it's detailed on the architectural plans there. So we won't go any more than 8 feet out from the house.
Thank you.
On that side, and that walkway is 9 feet to the outside of the stone wall that's existing. So we won't do any disturbance other than on that existing stone walkway.
She says 8.
I think that does it for me. If there's any questions from the site walk or things that I didn't answer from the site walk.
Any comments from the commission?
Well, the only comment off the top is that I don't see any 30 and
Here it
50 foot demarcations here.
The 30-foot is labeled 30-foot no touch zone.
This isn't the only plan he submitted, Carl. This is also the plan that's on the cloud here.
This is my plan of record.
Okay, so
This is a
that's,
supplemental
Yep.
plan.
That's a supplemental plan that the commission asked for to show.
Well, While Carl's looking at the plan, do you have a question, Rich?
Hey, Rich.
Well, just quite easy, Steve. What's the foundation type that's getting put in from the slab?
What is the size?
Is that a frost wall, or, what is it a full thickener, or is it just a slab and frost wall?
No, I'm gonna put in a full basement in half of the house. The other half will be a slab.
All right, southern half or the northern half will be the slab.
Let me get my bearings.
The lake is south.
It'll be the southern side that'll have the foundation.
96 elevation.
So towards the lake.
Okay, so, it's the lake level foundation.
I can't go to the north side because it's the offset to the septic system. I have to maintain 20 feet from a foundation wall to the leach system. So we can't go in that direction.
All right, if you're gonna be digging that out, are you gonna be removing the fill daily, or are you gonna have a stockpile site?
That was one of the questions at the site walk, Rich. Good question. We will not be stockpiling anything on the site. Anything that comes out of that cellar hole, we put in a truck and trucked off site. There'll be no stockpiling.
Have you submitted a scheduled construction when you're looking to start?
We'd like to start in the spring as soon as the weather breaks.
I see water line, is that existing or is that new?
The water line is existing,
Okay.
and the leach field is existing.
The grading around the foundation when you replace it will be at the same elevation as it exists today?
I'm not gonna change any of the grades. Nope. So there'll be
So
no,
the grading's the same?
I won't be bringing any fill. There won't be any fill brought in for the construction of the home.
And any other vegetation plan or landscape plan while we're looking at doing what done?
No changes. They like the lot just the way it is. So no changes to the beach, no changes to plantings. I mean, they're right adjacent to the house in the front. There are 2 rhododendrons which will be removed that are between the asphalt walkway and the front door, but they would be underneath the deck. So we'll be removing those because they'll be underneath the deck. But there's no additional or changes, no loaming, no seeding, no anything. We're gonna stay within the footprint of the existing disturbed and the walkways that are on the lot as they exist today.
The area we were removing the 4 trees, just to elaborate on Rich's question,
Yep.
how many trees are remaining?
Oh, one of the other questions, on the original plan, Rich, I had not shown all the trees out on the point, so the commission asked me to show those. There's 25 trees on the lot, and we're removing 4 dead ones. So there'll still be over 20 trees existing on the lot.
Okay. And you gave the impervious to be removed. What is the square footage of the decking that's being added around the house?
Didn't calculate that. I can calculate it quickly for you.
Just a quick run when you gave us impervious being removed. Then that's, I mean, basically all of that is in the no structure and the.
Steve, do you want a scale? Steve, do you want a scale?
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Matt was handing me a scale, Rich.
Matt, do we have a copy of that plan in the cloud somewhere? The one that's showing the trees?
It should be in the cloud.
I can't
Did
find
you
it.
submit the one with the trees?
That's what I sent you this and then that plan.
I find 2 files in the cloud, an architectural plan.
I'll take a look for it, Bob.
Huh?
Should be in the NOI.
And that's where I'm looking. I'm looking in the NOI, and I find 2 files under 98 Horizon Island.
I'll take a look for it. I could have missed the email, Steve. We just changed servers, so I just got my email reset up, and it's been a
After the
challenge.
commission, the site walk, I amended the plan as you requested.
Yep.
Sent that plan to Matt, and that plan, which was the other request at the site walk.
And it looks like you're about 700 square feet of decking give or take?
I got a little bit less than that, but yep, I got a little over 600. A little over 600 square feet of decking, Rich.
Thanks, Steve. That answers all my questions, thank you.
Carl, did you have questions?
Well, just to follow up, I assume this is the 30-foot no-touch, sort of a long line, a dash, long line?
Yep.
Okay. Correct. So most of the work, well, even half of the housework is in the 30-foot no-touch.
Correct.
And the other thing what concerns me the most, as we talked about on the site walk, is this entrance into the basement, which is a pretty good excavation to get that walk. And so assume where that edge of that walk is, that's where the step is now? There's like a wall or something? and
Yep,
steps
correct.
down. So the bottom step is on that lower level, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then from there, and you're not going down from there? You're just
No.
starting there and then walking down the steps, of course?
Correct.
Underneath the deck?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the only thing, the big thing that jumps out at me is that's quite a bit of work in the 30-foot no-touch. It is all disturbed is true?
Yep, that is, like I said, all of the work for that will be within the existing crushed stone walkway. So it's crushed stone now, and we'll be removing that, so there'll be additional area to go back natural from that walkway to the deck. So there'll be it should be a net site improvement.
Steve, excuse me, just to make sure I got this right on the minutes, you're noting that it's currently crushed stone, and that the surface is, it's not going to go outside the surface of the existing crushed stone?
Correct.
So it's not going to go in any native ground?
Correct.
Okay.
And I remember from the site walk that the crushed stone is underlaid by tar paper, so it's presently impervious surface, and you're going to take all of that tar paper out, so the crushed stone, all that stuff that's currently crushed stone, which is now an impervious surface, will become a pervious surface.
Correct.
I have a couple questions. One is, I'm assuming your basement area is going to have a sump pump?
No.
Is that correct?
I've picked the basement elevation, which is why I need the slight bit of a walkout, so that the floor elevation will be 1 foot above high water. I'll put a sump pump in, but it shouldn't need it, because I'm planning on the basement level being a foot and a half above the high water mark of the lake.
Okay. So the basement's going to be a foot and a half above. How are you going to heat the house?
The house is heated by propane?
By propane?
Yep.
Okay. I guess if you're going to have a sump pump, where would it discharge?
Hadn't really thought about that, because I don't plan on it ever turning on. It would just be one of those things that was there in an emergency. So I would send it, I guess I'd send it, we could send it back towards Horizon Island Road. There's a catch basin right at the end of the driveway.
Yeah, or infiltrate it somewhere on site. I don't think we'd want it sent to the lake.
No.
Is a point I'm getting at, and the reason I asked about heat, if you had a home heating oil and you had an incident in the basement, that means likely you could be pumping home heating oil out towards wherever your point was. So if that was a lake, that's why I asked that question.
No.
So, okay, very good.
Efficiency of propane now. The house is currently heated with electric.
Yep.
But we're going to put propane hot water in.
Great. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I guess,
Yeah, one other quick question. What is the height of the deck, Steve?
When we were standing out there, Rich, you're going to be, the deck is going to be probably about 32 inches higher than the existing grade.
3 feet off ground.
Yeah, based on the architectural rendering, Rich, it's showing a 3-foot difference between the surface of the deck and the existing grade, approximately.
All right. Just I wasn't on site, I'm just gonna toss this out. There will be any vegetation, Pachysandra, vinca, something underneath the edge of the deck, just to help protect any erosion that's running off of the deck itself? because you're not going to have any other vegetation.
The site is currently, and the way the Coolums like it, it's kind of a, either it's a crushed stone or it's sand. They have there is no loam, there is no grass. So they wanted to mimic the same ground cover that's on the remainder of the lot, which is pervious. And it's very stable. So it's mostly sand.
So you don't think there'll be an erosion problem running off of the deck?
No, especially where I'll be infiltrating all the roof drainage via gutters and downspouts.
Are you doing gutter downspouts? Are you doing any dry wells or anything to help infiltrate the water? Or is it just going to overflow, sheet flow off over the surface?
No, I'll because I'm putting in the full basement, I'm gonna have a recharge right around the foundation, and I'll put the gutters and downspouts down into the drainage, and also underneath the slab in the rear of the house. I'm gonna fill that all with crushed stone as well, so I'll be able to recharge any and all water underneath that slab at the north end of the house. So I should have more than I'll have more than enough recharge when I'm done.
It sounds like he should have plenty of recharge capacity. So it wouldn't be like it would flood out.
Right.
No, half the house will be recharged.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anything, it'd probably suck, the ground there would probably suck it right down.
Yep.
Any other questions from the commission?
Rich, I don't know if you heard me, I was just noting it looked like it had extra capacity for recharge. So,
Go ahead.
sorry, Jack.
Yeah, no, it definitely
okay. I'm good.
will be in better environmental design than what we have there today. With the recharge, the foundation is the same size as what we have there, so the impacts are from the foundation are the same. We're losing 722 square feet of impervious surface. So it's definitely an improvement from where we are today. Nice job, thank you.
Jack?
Yes, it echoes something similar to what Rich was saying. First of all, this is a beautiful little piece of property. The wall around the lake, spectacular. A unique kind of a problem, and if folks that are listening, is what we're doing is we're essentially compromising our position with regard to a no-touch zone, no build, nothing within 30 feet. In order to accommodate this really beautiful piece of property, there's no significant change here. I don't know if we really do have 722 square feet of impervious material, because tar paper on top of rocks breaks down pretty quick. But the fact of it is, the deck itself is pervious, and it would look like it's a really decent plan, and I have no problems with wavering a 30-foot position that I'm usually holding hard on. I think it's a good design.
Just a couple of points I need to make for the commission. Jack, I did take a look at that tar paper. It looks to me like it's regularly maintained and regularly replaced.
Okay.
The other thing I would note is, if you guys do decide to approve the plan as presented, a motion would have to include the waiver, and it would have to be based on the fact that he did not increase the nonconformity under the bylaw. So that would have to be specified in the motion.
Great.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Will you be submitting that paper copy? Because I don't see that we,
I have to
everything-
locate his email.
okay.
Yep.
But, yep.
All right. Any comments from the public?
They were brought to,
If there are no comments from the public, I'll accept a motion for a standard order of conditions with the amendment that a variance will be provided for work within the 30-foot no-touch zone due to the fact that the impervious area will not be increased due to construction and replacement of the existing house.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, also with the additional note that any sump pump discharge be directed away from the lake.
Do you accept that amendment?
Absolutely.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call vote. Richard Birch? Bob Pease?
Aye.
Jack Rabbit?
Aye.
Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carl Luck?
Aye.
Katie Childs? And I vote aye as well.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Steve.
Here's the mailing. I don't know if you got that yet, but there's the GDP number.
Yeah, I saw it.
I have, wanted to submit the as-built for Spring Street,
Okay, are you gonna stay to discuss that a little bit later?
and if you want.
Please.
Thank you, Ms. Marsden.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Do you want these back down?
No, those are all for submitted,
Okay.
so you have them on record.
Multiple copies.
I can take the ones if you don't want them.
I don't, Matt, I think you've got one of these already, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
you
sure
did.
you'll use it sometime.
Yep, no, I will. Thank you.
Open our next hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a continued notice of intent by Nancy Bell for replacement of an existing retaining wall at 51 Fire Road 19. Do we have anyone
Santiago,
here?
you here, buddy? You were supposed to be here. I did have this discussion with Nancy. So I guess we're gonna have to continue to the next meeting.
Why don't we continue this to later in the meeting, and if he
Later in
shows
the
up,
meeting, if he
we'll,
shows up. Sure.
So moved.
motion, second. We have a motion and a second, roll call vote. Richard Birch?
Aye.
Katie Childs?
Aye.
Bob Pease?
Aye.
Jack Rabbit?
Aye.
Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carl Luck?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Open our next hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by Keith Bodine for the placement of a seasonal dock at 264 Prospect Street, Lot Number 8.
Looks like Keith's not here either.
Not here either. Did you have any communication with the applicant?
Yes.
He indicated to be here tonight?
Yeah, I send out reminders or make phone calls, which I did actually today, routinely, so.
Okay.
I would note, though, that Mr. Bedoin is a plumbing and heating contractor, and he could have simply just had an emergency call.
All right, why don't we continue this hearing till later in the meeting? We can close it out once we get through the hearings if we need to. Accept a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, Richard Birch.
Rich went away.
He's not there.
All right, Carl Luck.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit. Bob Pease.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Seeing that Richard Birch is no longer online, we'll pause with the roll call votes until he gets back on. All right, let's open.
Says he's not available, so something must have happened to his internet. I'll try him again in a little bit.
Okay. Let's open the next hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by Paul and Jennifer Ignisi, 25 Butterfly Lane, Glenn and Laura Kutzer, 11 Butterfly Lane, David Janvrin and Tammy Zerba, 10 Butterfly Lane. I apologize if I'm destroying your names. Michael and Laura Cool, 8 Butterfly Lane. That was a good one. Kevin and Allison Lodasur at 6 Butterfly Lane for placement of sheds within the buffer zone.
Yeah, I will try it now. All right. I think he's reestablished his connection.
So did any of the commission members get a chance to go out on site?
Yeah, Matt and I went out Saturday, saw the buildings. We did see at least one other place that has a similar issue that we need to deal with. There's a
Yeah,
shed there that was
That
not
will be
accounted
brought in at
for.
another time.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
The only other thing, the sheds we talk about, the only other thing that we did see was a couple locations, and I don't know the addresses, so Matt would have to help me out, where there's starting to be some debris put beyond the buffer area that we've set up. There's the yards and the mulch buffer, we'll call it, and then the wetlands. And there's a couple of places, I don't think it's a big deal, but I just want to point it out while people are here that, there shouldn't be anything, grass clippings or dirt or anything that's put beyond the mulch. So that's sort of a word of caution, I think, unless Matt thought we should do more than that.
Now, who's here tonight for this?
11 Butterfly.
Yeah. You don't have to identify, just raise your hands so I know. Okay, so, and I did speak with Mr. Cool, who is traveling right now. He got called away on business.
Okay.
Essentially, you guys know that the layer of mulch that is uniform among the lots. When the commission approved all the subdivision and the lots on the houses, they approved that little layer as an extra protection to the wetland. So essentially, if there's anything like debris on it, anything stored on it, it can't be stored on it. That's basically it. I noticed a couple of, like toys, like children's toys, that's not a big deal. I mean, they're not permanent structures, and just pull them out when you want to. And the other thing I would ask is that you guys consider doing some plantings, because we had some plantings done there originally and they just died. It was during the drought period, and planting during a drought period usually doesn't happen as far as planting surviving. So, not a big deal. Just making you aware of it and aware of the reason why that was placed in there. Why that mulch layer or the mulch patch exists along the lots. So, wasn't sure whether or not that was disclosed to you guys when you bought the properties.
No, actually, I think we were all under the impression that once that silt
Name and
fence-
address.
Sorry. Paul Agnesi, 12 Butterfly Lane.
Yep, why don't you come up here? We're recorded, so
Grab them, Matt.
this allows everyone to. Thank you.
I think we were under the impression of when that silt fence was pulled up, that the plantings were going to go across where that was. That's all. I didn't know there were any plantings pre-construction. It was all about the plantings.
Okay. So I guess I'm a little bit confused on this one. Hold on. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, no,
Well, I guess my confusion, Matt, is are each of the addresses that are the residents that are here tonight, are they each planning a shed on their property?
No, the sheds are pre-existing. Sheds are
They're all
existing.
They're all there, you can see them.
Now,
Right.
when we went out.
So this is a
You can
A
see them.
retroactive filing.
retroactive filing.
Now,
Understood.
when I went out and I measured the areas where the sheds were, and I
Yep.
verified everything on the GIS system, I went out with Carl to show him the locations. I have everything located on plans, scaled plans from the original subdivision. Everything is outside of the 50-foot zone. I think the closest one was maybe 62 feet. So they would qualify for the state exemption if we didn't have the bylaw. I mean,
Right.
they do meet that criteria. The only other thing was, the storage. Was there anything else, Carl, that you wanted to bring up?
no, we saw the fences. The only thing in the applications I think that we want to address is it does a very good job of identifying the closest point to the wetland and the distance, and that looks good. But the size of the shed is not on the drawing. So we should have dimensions of the shed.
Those are scaled. I can add the dimensions to
Yeah,
it.
just so you can, 'cause make sure. That was my only other, and the things, and Matt didn't elaborate, it's tempting to put grass clippings beyond the mulch. You really aren't supposed to put anything beyond the mulch.
Okay. Have all the residents had an opportunity to review the retroactive filing so they can see what's been documented on their property to make sure that they agree with what's been documented?
Yeah, I went over the plans with them.
Okay, great.
The one thing I did forget to mention that Carl did raise is when I sketched your sheds in there, it was the box outline that I showed you guys.
Yep.
They're scaled, so it's to the dimensions of your sheds, so. And it was the plans that we had gone over were the plans from the original subdivision, so all the applicable zones are shown on each plan, so. They'll always be in the file if you ever want to refer to them. I have plans and PDFs of all your individual lots. If you ever want them, it's all public record. If you ever decide you want them, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to provide them.
Right.
Going forward, anything, else that they wanted to do, they'd have to file for separately, right?
That's correct.
So my question would just be that silt fence, does that stay? Are we responsible to take that up? Can't touch it, or?
I'm going to talk to the contractor that built the subdivision, have him go and remove it.
Okay.
He should have done that. In fact, I asked him to when we closed out the roadway, and that hasn't been done yet. So that will be done. May not be done right away because of the frozen ground, but when the ground thaws out and everything starts growing in, I'm going to have him go in and carefully remove that so he doesn't, butcher your yards either.
Okay.
So,
Does that
I
answer your
did,
question?
I did
I just
notice...
didn't know if we were responsible for that, or?
No, I'm not, no. I'm going to make him responsible because
or
he
if
was
it has
supposed to do it.
stay, I don't know.
No.
Do you recommend any kind of plants that you mentioned about planting? Yeah?
I'd put something that would be on the lines of what's called a xeriscaping, something that could tolerate dry conditions.
Xeriscaping?
Yeah, xeriscaping means basically something that can tolerate dry conditions. So you don't have to worry about watering, you don't have to worry about droughts. You can do different types of grasses that, like you see in some landscaped, like hotels and stuff, you see some of the grass clumps. And then you'll see even rhododendrons are actually drought tolerant.
Okay.
Plants like that are very common. The reason why they do them is because they don't need to be watered all the time. They can take dry conditions.
So as far as actually extending grass in that area, that's not something?
That's a no-go.
Okay.
What about trees?
Well, trees are allowable, we encourage them.
Very good.
And that would be checked with you guys before they go in?
If you have any questions about where you're going to plant, feel free to call our agent, Matt, and he can give you some guidance.
Yeah, you can call me, send me an email. Just got my email fixed, so it's working. And also, I believe I had alluded to this to some of you guys, I do get emails over my phone, too. So, don't be surprised if you send me a quick question on a Saturday, and on a Saturday I answer you, much to my wife's chagrin, but I will answer you. So.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the public? No other comments or questions? I'll accept a motion for a negative determination.
Negative is a good thing.
For the request for determination of applicability for the 12 Butterfly Lane, 11 Butterfly Lane, 10 Butterfly Lane, 8 Butterfly Lane, and 6 Butterfly Lane.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Richard Birch.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well.
You're all set,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, can you just spin your phone about 30 degrees to the left?
There you go. How's that?
Much better. Thank you. Hopefully I can hear Carl and Jack down the other end like this.
All right. Seeing that was our last hearing on the agenda, I'll accept a motion to, let's open.
Let's just go through the remainder of the meeting. We can do the
You wanna go through the
continuances later.
agenda? All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
We have a lot of people here. I'm sure they're here for some reason.
155 Reservoir Road, meeting with residents under violations.
Okay. Can we skip to that?
Yes. That's a great idea. Do you want to be vice chairman?
No.
Oh.
What we did was we're moving stuff up on the agenda so we can talk to you guys now so you don't have to stay here all night. You know what I'm saying?
So 155 Reservoir Road, we're going to meet with all the residents. Matt, why don't you take us through?
Okay, well, essentially what's been going on, to remind the commission, we've had as-bills done up on all the properties here, showing where the nonconformity was as far as what was approved under the order of conditions originally for each lot, as far as the grass outline, what is out there now, locations of the mulch piles, any structures on the property, and the riverfront numbers, and all of that was verified. We had verified by Rosemary Chalk. She went out and re-verified the survey, redid all the numbers, and came up with accurate totals. So now we're here to discuss with the residents potential remedial actions. Mr. Marchetti may be joining us. He had an issue he had to resolve with his daughter, so he may be on his way back.
All right. Well,
We don't necessarily need him here right now anyway. This is between the commission and the residents that are here.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, there was, Matt and I walked most of these properties and looked at the rest. And there was just one area that there must have been some change since this drawing, this as-built was done. It's a minor area, but in the lot, house number 91, I guess? Oh, lot 7, there you go. In lot 7, between 7 and 6, there's a dip there that's shown with little pink and so forth. And that back is actually squared off now on lot 7. So there's a small area that should go into the calculation,
Okay.
just to update, And they say,
What's the estimated square footage based on when you're outside?
I don't know, what's the scale of this thing?
Couple hundred square feet?
If even.
Probably not even.
It's just basically a minor adjustment just to ensure accuracy.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up. It changes the number slightly, it's not going to affect any of these discussions, but it should be corrected before we're done.
Yep.
So, what has been proposed by Mr. Marchetti?
He hasn't proposed anything.
He
It's
hasn't.
between us and the residents here as to what they want to see. You guys want to say anything? I'm assuming you want to hear from them.
Yes, absolutely.
Should we go lot by lot, or?
Sure. Why don't you come up?
Come on up and...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Mr. Hughes here is a civil engineer, so he's been examining the plans, and Mr. Marchetti hasn't gotten around to it yet, but he is going to send them the CAD file.
Yeah, he sent
So
it to
he can-
me,
he did send it to
this
you?
afternoon. but I
Okay,
didn't
so
get
he can
to do
work on
anything with
some,
it.
potential drawings, and then Mr. Marchetti would confirm those and draw them back up himself with his stamp.
Just one more comment in terms of what we saw on the ground. That's not on the print. I think Matt said that it was already approved, but on Lot 5, just for the record, there's a shed and a garden that's in the, beyond the grass
Yep.
over
Yeah,
here.
that was Mr. McGinnis's lot. We approved him doing some replanting. That was the area where all the slash was just piled, and he removed it out by hand. And he went in and did some native plantings. He has a 2 pollinator habitat gardens that are in there that actually look pretty good. And then he had discussed with us the location of the shed. And that was, last year, I think that was.
I missed the meeting, which is why you had to educate me on it, but it should be on the print, and I don't know if that affects the calculation. I mean, if there's a shed there and a garden, that doesn't seem undisturbed.
Did you say shed?
Sorry?
Did you say shed?
I think it's a shed.
There's no shed on my lot.
No, he asked about a shed. He never put one up.
It was December 6, 2017, or 16. And you approved me to remove
What
the
he's saying is, why is it shown on the
Approved the gardens, but no sheds.
There's no shed on the plan.
Is there something over on that left side? Because I drew a square in there,
There's 2 gardens in there.
so that's a garden.
Yeah.
That's a second
It's the
garden.
pollinator gardens that you must have drawn in, Carl.
Yeah.
Rich, you had a comment?
I did, Matt. I thought when we met with Brian Marchetti, we had discussed him revegetating the unpermitted mulch areas back so that they would reforest.
Yeah, that was one of the discussions. We also discussed with him that we were going to have to also talk to the residents about any potential planning.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we talked about that. All right.
Yes, we had. My mic
Thanks,
cord isn't
Rich.
in your way, is it, Rich?
And for the record, can you,
No, I'm more concerned with hearing, not seeing.
Okay.
I have the video off just so I can hear everything.
can you give your name and address?
Mike Hughes, 131 Reservoir Road. Okay, I guess, and I just, so everybody here is clear, and so everybody's on the same page here. My understanding, based on these plans, is that there is 86,000 square feet of riverfront area, 867,000 square feet of riverfront area within this development. 10% of that is allowed to be disturbed under current town bylaws. Currently, so that puts us at 86,000 square feet allowed to be disturbed. Currently, we are at a roughly 78,000, give or take, square feet disturbed. So we are under the 10% threshold currently. And I understand what the issue here is that Mr. Marchetti is proposing part of, I don't know if it's been permitted yet or where that stands, but there's additional impact to the riverfront area that he is proposing that would then put us over the 10% limit. And by my calculation, that Mr. Marchetti's proposed permit will put us at about 11%, where 10% is permitted.
Okay.
So currently, we are at about 9% by my calculations.
Essentially, Mr. Hughes, what had happened here, to clarify the issue, when these 9 lots were approved, there was a certain amount of riverfront that was allowed after much debate with this commission. The commission took both sides of the riverfront and the lots as a whole, including Lot 9 and the lot in the back, came up with these figures and said, this is what you're allowed to alter. Under its bylaw, we are allowed to do a prohibition of further alteration to prevent segmentation. So what we did was we recorded a deed restriction that does actually marginally reference on each lot, that basically locks in the amount of alteration, the yard shapes, the plans, everything that was approved. It also allows for a future alteration on the remaining lot not to go above 10%. Those numbers were quantified. When we discovered that the yards that were done in the landscaping and the bark mulch and all that was out of conformance with what was approved, it skewed all of the numbers and the reason for the deed restriction. And I got to tell you, if we hadn't have done the deed restriction, the state had told us outright they were going to intervene on this file and regulate it themselves. And if they had done that, what you have out there now may look much different than what was allowed.
Was that before or after it was permitted at the state?
That was before it was permitted. They flagged it and watched it.
Okay.
In fact, they were very pleased with the fact that we did the deed restriction.
But I guess why was the state?
The state reviews every file that comes in.
Why was the state, I believe what was permitted at like 6.5%. Why would, in the state regulations, 310 CMR allows 10%. So why would the state be upset that, as long as you're below 10%, right? Why was the state?
Actually, it was closer to 8% or a little over 8%. And the regulations don't normally allow for lots to be lopped off and then the whole riverfront impacts to be done together. They weren't happy with the way the original filing was formulated. They didn't like the fact that it was A&R lots and everything was chopped up as a whole. They wanted to do 10% of each lot. 10% of each lot would have made your development area look a lot different, and it probably would have been reduced. When we worked with the state, they actually wound up agreeing to consider the riverfront in the way it is currently because we did the deed restriction.
Okay.
In other words, we quantified all the numbers to the decimal point and then locked it in everyone's deed, including Mr. Powell's. He's subject to the same restrictions. So what's happening now is, he's basically left holding the bag because of the contractor that did the work. So, if you would allow these to remain as is, his land becomes useless because of the way this was done by the developer.
Okay, so.
Through no fault of yours.
No fault of yours. Nope.
Glad you guys said that.
So, what is the commission's standpoint of where, in my opinion, 10% is the magic number? Is that the commission's standpoint as well, that we need to get to 10% with Powell's development plus whatever's there? Is that fair to say?
Well, we had a certain amount of square footage that was allowed on your side of the development. A certain amount of square footage that was held in abeyance for future work on the other side of the development in Lot 9. So we have to get those numbers back down. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's yard's going to be torn up and reconfigured. One of the things that we had noted was that if you add all the bark mulches together, if you were to take all of those wood chips out, all those grindings out, plant it, put trees in it, actually, the numbers wind up equaling back out.
Yeah, it actually takes out more, gets you below 10%.
Right, so what would wind up happening is we wind up reestablishing more of a natural condition to get it back to its natural state. And, this is an idea that the chairman and I had discussed with Mr. Marchetti. You could do that if you guys wanted to agree to it, and then your yards, the way they were, even, ones that were outside the conformance could be left alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's kind of where we want to go with it. But I don't think, I think the mulch beds are, like, I like my mulch bed in the backyard. I want to do stuff with it. I like having a deep backyard. I would rather sacrifice the areas on the side of the yards, because right now, I know Carl, I know you were out there, it's pretty much one long backyard from lot to lot. So one of the thoughts was, can we separate the lots a little bit within the riverfront area? And instead of replicating solely in the mulch beds, do we replicate a little bit on the sides so that that solves the commission's concern, or is part of the commission's concern? I think it would be more amenable to the residents.
Well, I can't speak for the commission because, obviously, I work for the commission. But in my professional opinion, in working with restoration and replication areas, if you could make the numbers work on your property and, your neighbor that would also be directly impacted would agree with you, I don't see why it wouldn't be examined as an alternative. So I know you had indicated taking the mulch out and actually planting grass and maybe reestablishing a tree line from a point coming out and making the numbers work.
Yes.
That's an option that's not closed out, as long as it does a natural state result.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? Just
Go ahead, Ken.
A question for clarification for my own knowledge. Discussions with the developer that owns the back lot, has he proposed paying for any of this, or are the residents going to be responsible for putting the bill for any plantings or anything like that?
No, the developer is responsible.
Okay. So this won't be a cost to the residents?
No, in fact, the gentleman that was facilitating the development, his bosses, I guess you could call them, the people that hold the company and hold his money, basically have said that they want to make it right.
Because to me, that's a concern. It's not these people's fault that the developer messed this all up. They shouldn't be held responsible for paying for it.
I agree. Go ahead, Rich.
Rich, can you hear me now?
I can make extra copies if you guys.
I was just asking about who was going to foot the bill for any replication or plantings.
And I think Matt said it's the developer who has agreed, Matt, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the
He's agreed,
developer
yep.
has agreed
No,
that
he's
they are
agreed.
paying for this.
And the developer is?
Harbor Classic Homes, Ron Coyview.
Okay, thank you.
So the question is, how do we get to the point where we come up with something that we're okay with, the residents are okay with, and then he's going to pay for it?
Well,
What's the next step?
okay, I know you have certain ideas of what you want to do with your lot with your neighbor. I know other residents that have a lot of those wood chips want them yanked. Is that still your running feelings, guys? Yes, no? You can,
Emily Zupino, 155 Reservoir Road. I just have reservations about working with Harbor again. I mean, letting them be responsible for this cleanup.
well, we'll pick the contractor who goes in. He's just paying for
We're
it.
just paying for it. That's all I
Yep.
want to know. I don't want to let them do that.
I know just the guy, too.
Well, to me, it sounds like the residents have to come up with a plan for each of the lots. And then we need to communicate that to whoever draws the plan, whether it's Mr. Marchetti or someone else, to put that plan down on paper so he can examine it and see whatever is acceptable to the residents, then allows them to continue with their development.
Mr. Hughes is a civil engineer, as I stated earlier. He has the CAD file from Mr. Marchetti. I guess Mr. Marchetti sent it to him this afternoon. So he's graciously volunteered to draw up draft plans on remedial actions here, and they would be finalized by Mr. Marchetti with his stamp, and Mr. Marchetti and yourself and your neighbors would make sure that you're all in agreement with what's on those blueprints.
Yeah, I think the, where we need the commission's help a little bit here is, I don't want to keep going in circles.
Right.
I don't want to come in, propose a plan, you guys say, no, I don't want to do that, do that, and then we keep going in circles. I was anticipating tonight's meeting being a workshop with just the commission and just the residents, where we could hash this out. Doesn't sound like we're going to get there tonight.
If we want to go lot by lot to say what we want, and we can sketch that out, and then you can capture that in plans later, kind of redline out what we have, I'm more than willing to do that now.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Thursday's still 4 hours away.
Carl.
Richard, can you hear me?
I can, Carl.
Okay, I'll try to, what I call yell. The one thing I'd like to, just as my feeling regarding this 10%, because that's what the total number is important to doing any what-ifs and calculations. My feeling is that the 10% is a limit. I mean, all of this is resource area, and we're allowed to go up to 10%.
Right.
To go to 10% is not a given. My feeling is that when we're all done, and I was encouraged by what Matt said, when we're all done, we should be back to the percentage that we approved.
Ideally, I agree, or less.
Or less, thank you. But
Yep.
Well, what I'm saying is we have enough flexibility because of what Mr. Coyview did with the wood chips. We have enough flexibility with the wood chip areas where the square footage works out, where we could achieve reasonable goals for us and people whose properties are affected, to make sure that, the riverfront is protected and that what they've moved into is not like totally upset and turned upside down.
right, yeah. And what I heard was you had a feeling that the number would be very close.
I still have the same
If you
feeling,
pull out
yes.
the wood chips, all of the wood chips, how you redistribute that to the residents and to the other lot is to be determined. But my sense is that that's one of the guiding principles of our discussion, and it starts to then go back to the residents of how do you want to divide this up. You've got the equivalent of the wood chips. If all the wood chips go, this is what you have. If you want to keep some wood chips, then that's
Well, I think that's
That's a
what we're going to hash
different
out
story.
right now.
right.
Well, yeah, I guess, are you saying you want to be, assuming your number of 8% was the number when it was permitted? I don't know it off the top of my head. You're saying
don't
you wanna
remember
be
off the top of my head
8%
either.
At the end?
Yeah, because we approved a plan, and we approved a plan based on going up to a certain percentage. And I think that's where we should be, unless we, restart a whole new NOI and the whole discussion of the plan. The simplest thing is if we hold that percentage, then at least our key job is done, right? We don't have to go back and revisit that whole thing.
Right, Carl, I think you're saying the same things we all are, just in a different way.
Yeah, I'm just want to see that the
Well,
residents
that's a little bit
get our
different
sense.
than what I'm expecting.
Yeah,
So the
that's what I wanted
originally
to say, 'cause
permitted area
I
was-
could see where
My
you were.
expectation is,
Original disturbance was how many square feet? On the order of 78,000 square feet disturbed was the originally proposed disturbance?
There is a figure, Carl has the figures on his plan.
Yeah, I'm looking for the total permitted disturbance. I get all the lots, but I can't add that quick, and I'm not...
I have 57,000 square feet was permitted
For just these
And the-
lots, or
for
the
the
entire project?
development.
57, sounds slow. Okay.
It's low. That's what I'm getting at. I don't think the
Well,
mulch
only
bin
because
gets
I
you
keep
there.
hearing 80s or something, so that's why it's low.
Mulch bins alone aren't going to get us.
That was 57,000?
Yes.
And total mulch is about 13,000, so that puts you about 70,000 square feet, 71,000 square feet, give or take.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's, more on the order of 8%, 7% than 10%.
And I guess I strongly want to be at 10%. That would, I'm talking major hardships if I have to give back my entire backyard. Hardships, I mean, I think there, you know, I understand that the town bylaws are based on 310 CMR. That allows 10%. It actually has mechanisms that allow over 10%. I think 10% is a reasonable number if that's what is allowed by state regulations.
Well, if you actually look at the original file, the total sum between the front and the back lots was close to 10%. It's just that the front area on your development didn't encompass the entire 10%.
Well, I think the original permit, maybe we're saying the same thing here, but the original permitted land was based on an estimated riverfront area, correct? And these numbers are based on a more accurate riverfront area.
That is correct.
Which allowed more area. So I want, that's why I'm trying to be at I'm trying to use the riverfront area that actually exists, not what was assumed when this was permitted.
Yeah, actually, I think your side was like 8 point something percent, and then the remaining percentage with what was proposed for the remaining lots, you know, the one in the front and the one in the back, brought the total close to like 9.7%. So it was pretty close to 10% as it was, hence the reason why we did the deed restriction, because the state basically took it and said, well, if you do 10% of each individual lot, the square footage is reduced.
Yes.
That was what was told to me.
So, okay, so when you originally permitted this, you permitted this pretty much right at 10%.
Yeah.
And then, once we went through, reevaluated everything, we said, okay, well, actually, we're more like at 8% as permitted, but I still want to stay at that 10% number.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay at the same.
But I mean, this development benefited significantly from using the rest of the riverfront, right? Because, I mean, these lots look to me to be 40 to 50%.
40, 50%.
Of the riverfront.
On that side.
Yeah, just these lots.
On the west side.
If we came.
Just looked at those lots.
Yeah, if you just look at these lots, your lot is using 50% of the riverfront.
Yeah, and I think that's.
So that's pretty good. So you benefited a lot there, is my only point. It's not like, you know.
But I would make the point that that's not the way this commission did it. This commission looked at it as a whole, and put the deed restrictions, and that's the way the commission did it. And I'm comfortable, I wasn't on the commission at the time. I'm comfortable with the way the commission did it. Evidently, the state was comfortable with the way the commission did it.
Yep.
And I'm comfortable with the number 10%. But that's just speaking for myself.
So-
And I'm only one commissioner.
My personal feeling on this is, through no fault of the residents, the developer did not stick to his plan as submitted. So I think anything the residents do to give back, if you will, some of this land that's was incorrectly developed is to the developer's benefit. And if there's a number that he's looking to get to, less than the 10% number, I believe all the rest of that should go, the residents should be able to develop on their lots.
So, putting it in another way, what you're saying is, whatever minimum he needs to, in the riverfront, to get what he wanted done, he gets the minimum, and any extra goes to the residents because of the inconvenience of what happened.
Correct.
So
I agree with what Todd just said.
So what is the minimum that he needs?
Can you say that, excuse me, Todd, can you say that one more time? I didn't quite.
Sure.
What you said.
So because these parcels were developed and they're undeveloped permitted riverfront area, or the overdeveloped area, exceeded what was on the plan originally. That's the whole reason we got here, because we wanted to see what was permitted and what was unpermitted. So because there's more intrusion on these residents' lot into the riverfront area, but that's not the residents' fault, that's the developer's fault. So if the developer's looking to develop additional lots, and he's looking to, he needs, X number of square feet to accommodate his development, we should only be looking to give back, or the resident should only be looking to give back, that smallest amount of square footage to allow him to move forward and nothing more.
Yeah, that gets us right.
I don't think legally that's an option. You're dealing with individually deeded lots. You cannot take riverfront from another lot and give it to the first lot after it's been deeded.
Well, we don't have to give it to him because the developer already.
There's an order.
Go ahead, Rich.
There's an order of conditions that's in place. I feel for the residents, but the residents are left with what was legally permitted, and the development on the site is not permitted. I don't know, and it's definitely sticky ground. I don't know if you can hold another landowner responsible once the land is.
Well, we can stop further development. We can stop further development because they misdeveloped the lots.
The plain fact is even
10% right now.
the plain fact is that even though they're individual lots, we analyzed this and permitted it as a whole.
Right.
Right? And we
The
distributed.
proposal was brought to us. We examined the numbers and approved an order of conditions based on what was brought to us. So it was analyzed as a whole. And my opinion is we should stick to that same methodology, but we're going to have to probably, the permits that are existing, once we come to an agreement on what's going to wind up happening, we're going to have to amend each individual permit in order to address Rich's concern on the legality. But I think we should address the impacts as a whole. And I also would like to point out that Mr. Marchetti is here.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is you analyze this whole thing as a whole lump of land.
Right.
You can't turn around now and just say, well, there are existing lots under different owners, so we're just going to go lot by lot as far as how we regulate it. It's kind of, I would equate that with kind of like double dipping. If we started it out with whole lots, we did a deed restriction, one deed restriction based on a whole lot scenario on both sides, we need to stick with that methodology. That's my recommendation.
So, Matt, could you step back, because I get very confused. When we started with this whole lot, which includes both sides of the river, there was a certain amount of riverfront area determined. And did we at that time permit up to the full 10%?
We permitted up to it was 9 point, was it 9.7?
I don't even think it was that much, I think it was 8.
I thought it was closer to 9, Brian.
Mr. Marchetti, do you have a large size plan? So
I have the plan I brought with me was the one that your consultant was near the top. Put together. Here.
I need a refresher course.
Rich, can you see these plans? Or are you still on just microphone?
You can see him, because I can barely see him from here. Well, we have him here, Rick. Yeah.
Great. So, what we'd like to do tonight is kind of go through each of these lots and understand what the residents, what they'd like to do with their lot, moving forward in terms of whether they want our open replication, whether they're not, if they say the mulch is there, just leave it there. We want to understand what everybody, what their wants are, so we can work towards a resolution. I don't know if the easiest way to do that is maybe start with lot 1A and move north through the lots.
But, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I still want to understand how we got here and how the allocations got determined.
Sure.
Just so we understand the starting point. We may end up in a very different place, but there was some allocation to get to the total riverfront, and some of it was allocated to these lots, but was there some allocated elsewhere? Or kept aside?
The history of this whole project was.
I have to just take a major break.
Subdivide portion of the lot. So the entire parcel was purchased. Because the road developed in the front half, only from the resource area forward was delineated and surveyed. The date, I don't remember date-wise, but in the beginning phases of the project. So when we did the total riverfront area calculation on the lot, first round through was based on a wetland consultant who had gone out. I went out with him, did an average of the bank width through here was like 10 or 12 feet wide. We knew the bank in the front, we didn't have the backside delineated. We offset at 10 feet, did the offset, and said this is how much riverfront's on the property. So the backside wasn't based on an actual hard bank number. So we did the calc, it was under the 10%. And in all of our opinions, it was a conservative estimate, so we weren't going to be over, we were going to be under.
But what was included in the 10% calculation?
So included
Just
in the
these?
10% calculation was just the numbers, just what you see here within the riverfront for these 8 lots and this 9th lot.
Okay, and how much was allocated to the 9th lot?
The 9th lot, the initial plan that I had done, I think there was another, it was 8,000 or 9,000 square feet in total. So when we did that first analysis, we were still well under the 10%. And everyone was happy, it was permitted. The lots were sold to a developer, and you know the rest of the story from there. The backside, the previous owner wasn't too concerned about accessing it. He retained lot 9 because we had established on the plan an access easement, so it was a driveway right here. It would have followed the driveway all the way through to the end point. And if we wanted to cross from 9, not develop 9, we wanted to cross through, we'd still have enough riverfront area to keep us on the 10% to get back here.
And then everything back there developed would be outside of the riverfront completely?
Everything would have to be outside the riverfront. We had more area, we had a lot more open area up here than we did in the front side. There was also a few other development plans in the, kind of behind the scenes, another 50-something acres back here, which they were in talks about buying, so we'd be able to access it from, I think it's Burridge, come all the way through, and maybe with a subdivision or something to extend the water up through. So there were a whole bunch of scenarios there. That's why the owners retained lot 9, didn't sell that to the developer. There was always a plan to do something, whether it was, best case was build out lot, or worst case, build out lot 9 just as a single lot, and those numbers were already accounted for and under the 10%. Or don't build out lot 9, that's our access through the backside. Or if we were able to obtain the lot in the back, the other 52 acres, then we had a throughway to connect Reservoir Road to Burridge. We would have to have the water main up through, it would have been a good size of the project. This is falling out of the picture. So right now, if we can't go all the way through to connect, all we're looking at is either developing lot 9, or we have a plan right now to do a common driveway. So it would be just 2 estate lots back here. So it's 1 driveway to service 2 lots, and that's as much as it's going to be. So all that aside, once this issue came up, we went back out, we surveyed the back side of the bank, we finished the topography and everything on the full parcel, so we can get real hard numbers. And when we came back with that number, we actually had more riverfront area than we thought, which kind of helps the situation, because we're not over the 10% with what we do. Even with what we've built out here, we're still under, but we have to consider this lot still hasn't been built out, and our plans to get back here also still haven't been done, so we just need to make sure we retain enough of that 10% in order to access the back acreage. So that's kind of how we got the riverfront areas changed between the first time, because we didn't have the full lot survey, to now. But now we have all the numbers. They've been checked. They've been double checked now by Rosemary Chalk. And we're here to figure out exactly what to do now about each individual lot.
So, from your plan, that's been put, or from Roseland Survey's plan, there's a total riverfront area, of 955,000 square feet. 10% of that, 95,000 square feet. Total developed right now, as constructed, is 86,123 square feet. So that leaves a difference of 9,386 square feet based on this plan. So I guess my question for Mr. Marchetti is, how short are you? How much do you need in reserve?
So when we designed this common drive crossing, we have a culvert crossing, we designed it with 2-to-1 side slopes, and we're trying to keep this as tight as possible, in order to not have to make people give up more, So, in my opinion, it's still environmentally sensitive. We're taking consideration of impacts, the resource areas, the crossing, everything. The 2-to-1 side slopes, we're minimizing our crossing and our impact as much as possible. And in doing that, we need around 18,000 square feet. And that's as tight as I can, say with a straight face, we'll be able to maintain that exact impact. So I don't want to be in the same situation where it's built out and, we went over by 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet. So 18 is the number I designed to. I would love to say we can have 20,000 square feet. There's a little bit of fluff to make just the actual as-built construction happen with a little bit of insurance where, it's not 3-to-1 side
So
slope.
if you
It's
can
actually
get-
built
if you
out.
can
So if
get-
we can get 20,000 square feet, it's exactly what I'd be comfortable with. We know we can do it because I've designed it to 18 and change. But I don't want to have to come back and face the fire because we went over by 500 square feet.
So we're almost,
You need 18,000 minimum, but you're asking for 20. That's almost a 12% more. I mean,
It is, but look at the length of this crossing. The driveway from here through the riverfront area, you're talking 500 feet. If we're, both sides, if we're 2 feet more than we need to be, or more than we said we were gonna be, that takes up that 2,000 square feet.
So,
all it is.
right now, we have about 13,500 square feet of mulch area.
Yep.
And we'd probably need about 11,000.
Sorry.
Or 11,000 square feet to hit that number you're looking
To hit
for.
20, we need about 11. Yeah.
Okay.
11,000.
11,000 square feet of the mulch area to be
The total unpermitted mulch area is
13,557 square feet.
so that's only like,
They only have 9,000 square feet right now, so they need another 11,000 square feet of riverfront
oh, I see
area.
what you're saying now. All right.
These numbers jive with what you're getting to?
yes.
So for mulch area to remain, we can only have about 2,000 or so square feet of mulch area that could remain as mulch.
And those are the dark red areas that we're talking about.
Yeah. So I would,
Light red.
the maroon, yeah.
Yeah, just the dark red.
He was pointing.
Yeah, the
right
dark
there.
red.
yeah. The brownish.
Oh, it's brown.
Okay.
On our plan,
Yeah.
it's dark red or brown.
But there's still the problem
The
with
printer.
the permitted grass area too. right?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
So I guess a comment for me would be is for me my first comment would be is I'd want to squeeze every square foot out of this. So I know you said you need 18, I'd give you like 19, I don't want to hand.
He's hoping for 20.
He's hoping
You
for
want
20.
you want to keep them as
He says
tight as
18
possible.
minimum. Like, can we split the difference there? I'm trying to get everything we can for this development.
Sure.
We didn't do this. It's, you know, and I'm
Sure.
This is an area that's become used. It's going to be, to reclaim this area is going to be real pain, real inconvenience for us. So, you know, my personal preference is I don't want you guys to do anything to this lot,
I guess
to my lot. But
when we ask that question, what happens if we say, you know what, sorry, this is how it is? What's the repercussions of that?
Sorry, this is how it is that they
You know.
that we leave it as is, and you're unable to develop the remainder.
Yeah.
I still don't.
I guess that could lead to legal entanglements between the property owners.
I mean, the original property owner that owned this whole thing sold it to a developer who caused this problem. They didn't cause it, we didn't cause it.
Not our problem.
Sorry.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, but.
Quite frankly, I'm hesitant to do any favors to this developer given the experience that I had with him.
But as I look at this plan, it says that each of these, on almost every single one of these lots, you've gone beyond what's in the deed restriction.
we haven't. The developer.
The original
Okay,
developer.
but, all right, but every single one of these lots has gone, the lot itself, well, not the people, the lot itself has gone beyond
Yes.
with what's permitted in their deed restriction.
Yes.
And as a commission, I don't think we can ignore that.
I don't disagree with you. And we could
Well-
choose not to ignore it by saying, you know, if the residents can't come to a resolution with the other owner, we can't allow development to move forward. I mean, that's kind of how we got where we are. Because we want to come to a resolution to, one, bring these lots back closer to the permitted area, and
Let me see if I understand this correctly, that the total amount of riverfront that's available, the gross riverfront within 200 feet, has changed from the original thing because you guys did a more accurate survey on the other side, took into full account the width of the brook in some places, and that then gives us a bigger gross area, so 10% of that bigger gross area is now a bigger number, and so there's the potential to distribute this additional area between the poor people the unlucky people who got these lots from a developer who didn't do it right, and, the person who wants to develop Lot 9, and the question is, if I understand it correctly, the question is, how do we take and redistribute that additional area between, did I get it wrong? Did I get it right?
I think we're saying the same.
Okay.
I think we're in the same place, Bob.
Just help me here. For 3 and 2, they're considerably larger and extended. Why did you guys do that? What was the purpose behind that? Lot 3 and 2.
I honestly don't have
Was there any
I don't have the
advantage?
exact lot calculations on here, but a lot has to have, X% of the lot area you can't include wetland
Okay, so there's a
over a
wetland back
certain
there?
square footage. So we had to increase the upland area in order to make it a buildable lot. So you have to have, it's 80,000 square feet or something like that is what the lot area is required, but you can only include so
Okay.
much wetland in the lot area, so they had to be bigger. So.
Seems like it's extended further than the area, but, okay.
So if you look at every one of these lots, and based on this as-built plan, just to put in a little bit more perspective, the developer, and I've heard it's a mix and mingle of the developer built this out, and some landowners built them out a little bit, so there's been an expansion regardless of who did it. The net over what was permitted is about 24,496 square feet.
Okay.
So it's almost 24,500 square feet of riparian zone, outer riparian zone, was developed beyond what was originally permitted. And out of that 25,000 almost square feet, we're asking for 11 of them. So because we did the more detailed survey, we have a lot more wetland area, a lot more riverfront area across the project. So, you know, if we were stuck and held to our initial numbers, you know, that 25,000 would be a lot more we'd have to get back. You know, so I understand, you know, none of you guys want to give up your land. None of you guys want to give up your grass and your mulch. You know, developed area. But in reality, like I said, if you had to hold the letter of the law and the order here, there's almost 25,000 square feet that we'd be saying you have to get back. And based on the development plan for the, you know, the back full parcel and the other one, there's extra riverfront area available that we can use, and we only need 11,000 of that 24,500. So I mean, that in itself, I think, is a significant compromise on our part, you know, being the developer, which, you know, I'd never stand here in front of you and say he didn't screw up. It's a known fact, that's why we're here, and we're here now to try to fix it. And we've discussed whatever we do have to restore, or whatever we come to an agreement about, you know, square footage wise per lot and which area, it's up to him, the developer, to reforest it and revegetate and, you know.
Sure. Well, the other thing we need to keep in the context of this as well, and while I understand this gentleman not wanting to give the builder any mercy or leeway, totally understandable. None of us, I think, want to be here discussing this. As far as Steve Powell's land, Steve Powell had you approve these plans. He sold the lots to a developer. He did not do any of this work.
Yes. Yep. No, that's absolutely fair.
We have to keep that in context as well when we're dealing with the remaining land here. The remaining landowner did not commit the violation.
So, one suggestion I have, just by looking at the way the lots are distributed, and it looks like the mulch area might be the area to take advantage of, just from my eyes. So if I was going to look at how to retake some of the mulch area, I would proportion what I needed based on the proportion of mulch that are in each of the lots. So if they were all 2,000 square feet of mulch in each lot, and you only need 1,500 per lot, you know, you could leave 500 square feet of mulch in each lot. But if one had 5,000 square feet and the other were, you know, percentage less, then the one who's got more would lose more of the mulch, just proportioning it what's been developed. I don't know if that's acceptable to residents, but it seems like a reasonable.
Well, that's the thing, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I know Mr. Pease has his hand raised, but I know some of you, like you, for example, said you wanted all of that out of there, and you don't have a problem with trees growing up, right? So, you know, we've got people that have mixed feelings, but,
right,
you know, a lot of it does have to do with removing the mulch and doing it. You were talking about maybe taking the mulch out, expanding some grass, bringing some native trees back, and instead of doing the mulch strip, do a side strip with native growth. I mean, those are things we can work on.
Right.
And again, Mr. Pease, I apologize for taking the time.
That's correct.
Bob?
Well, about 30 minutes ago, we said we would start at Lot 1A and go through and see what happened. And I still think we should do that and see where that leaves us. And maybe at the end of that process, we'll find we don't have a problem. And maybe at the end of that process, we'll find we do have a problem. But I think we should go through it and find out. And
Completely agree.
Get on with the meeting.
Yeah, I agree too.
Hold on, Jack, we're gonna go through the lots. You can save your comment till after.
Well, I think there's something that's relevant to this. When we, and I'm 90% certain, when we looked at these lots quite a while ago, we were concerned that there would be encroachment beyond, when this is with the developer. And this is when we floated the idea of boulders at the peripheral of those areas. I believe we voted for a couple of them.
I think
For sure.
And
Demarcating the areas that cannot be developed, I think,
Cannot-
is a good idea, and I think we should bring that into the discussion once
as
we
part
figure
of
out the
this whole
areas.
negotiations, that we just don't go any further. And I would support that, your line of reasoning, but with the understanding that someone's going to pay to have boulders placed on those edges, and they wouldn't go any further. And they plant whatever you want beyond that, trees or whatever, but
I think we need to get through the work of proportioning,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
what's going to be given
talk
back,
about
or we'll be
that.
here all night.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be, you might have a legal problem here, too. In that we've got the DEP that's approved this already,
In terms of,
the demarcation.
Again, as I had stated earlier, the orders on each individual lot would have to be amended. So the amendment request would also be copied to DEP. So they would look at it too. But I don't think they're going to have an issue with it as long as we're staying within these numbers. And I think that's where all the raw talent that we have the pleasure here of having at our avail will help.
very good. So, if the commission pleases, let's hold our comments once we get through the discussion on each of the lots and find out where we are. So why don't we start, you can start either from the north or the south, and then, left to right or right to left, your choice.
Well, I might as well start at lot 1 and go down, but
Great.
I can't speak for lot 1, so.
That would be me.
Come on up.
Let them do it.
Hi.
Laura Lazuga, 167 Reservoir. So I'm late to this whole conversation.
Yep.
This is the first I've really heard any of this in detail. Who is the owner of Lot 9?
Steve Powell.
Steve Powell. And is Harbor Classic the contractor that is going to be doing the building?
I have no idea.
No? Is this related to Harbor Classic? Okay. Okay, so then I will back up my earlier comment on not wanting to do any favors to this building.
You know what? Like I said, I can totally understand how you feel.
Okay, so the goal is to claw back some of this brown area here.
Correct.
The mulch area.
The mulch area.
So, again, because this is the first time I've really heard about this and heard about the issue and what needs to be done, I haven't formulated any real opinions on it. I'm going to consult with my neighbor, Emily, and we'll try to coordinate something, and because we're abutting lots, we'll...
Well, and it
Walk through
appears
that.
that you and your neighbor have the largest percentage of
You have the
mulch
lion's
area.
share of the mulch.
Yeah, so this line right here, is that the top of the embankment? Because we have the yards that come out, and then there's a steep drop off.
Your house
really
is
into
the
the
greenhouse
wood.
at the end?
What's that?
Your house is the greenhouse at the end?
It's, light green.
Yeah.
Has a big hill on the side.
Yep. No,
So behind the house, yeah, there is considerable mulch, and it wraps around the side of the house. So this line right there,
That's the limit of the mulch.
this curve is the limit?
So the edge of what you see colored is the limit of the mulch. That's the
All right, so where,
In the riverfront.
where would,
They're limited, they have mulch that's outside the riverfront as well on that lot. So the brown-
Outside.
Yeah, so that's what curves, and it's shown on the plan, it's just not.
so can you kind of sketch on there where the embankment falls off?
Well, I think if you, isn't the mulch the full?
You've got flat mulch, you've got grass, flat mulch, and then it drops off.
I honestly, I can't tell.
Because there's no topo lines on it.
Okay.
This figure that we put together was graphical, so you can quantify what the.
Okay, I mean, the reason,
Talking about the mulch on the side?
no, on the back of the property. The reason why is, there's mulch that goes down there. I don't know if that is part of this, and obviously if it's on a hill.
If you see mulch, it's what's in that color. So this is mulch here.
The green is grass.
Yeah, the green is grass, and then this
So
color
there's
here
no,
is.
there's no topographical
No.
version of
There's
that.
no lines on it.
Okay, so when you say remediation, talking about bringing it back to natural, so that would be pulling up all the mulch and planting, the restrictions to what would be planted there?
If you have any ideas of what you'd want to see planted, you should let us know.
Okay. And you have a contractor that is going to be doing the work, Harbor Classic is going to be
paying for it.
paying for it.
What would your suggested plantings be for that area, Matt? based
Well,
on
I
the
mean, you know,
landscape?
you've got, I don't know if I'd want to plant hemlock with all the disease going on with it right now. So you're probably talking some oak, maybe some sugar maple,
So primarily trees?
primarily trees, maybe some thin underbrushy layer to help, you know, facilitate the ground cover.
Native plantings.
Natives, yeah.
I mean, if I might add, technically, it should be in whatever percentage the native forest is in that area. It shouldn't be something that we dictate, it should be whatever percentage of plant varieties that are in the area indigenously.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what I had named actually is in the area minus the hemlock. So, you know, it would be, and I agree with Rich's point, it would be something that would blend in.
Okay.
We could have Ecotech do, you know, an analysis of what's out there, present to you.
Actually, if you could get Andy Leonard to maybe do something, that would be even better. Andy Leonard is a landscape architect, and he's awesome.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? In terms of characterizing?
Disagree with that, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I would disagree with having a landscape architect do that. I would rather have a biologist do that, do the plantings.
Okay.
Again, because it has to match with what the native plant population is there now. So there really isn't any architecture that's going to go back into it. It just, they need to do the survey for the forest
And you mean the native, and Rich, to be clear, you mean what the native population of plants are before they clear cut?
Yes. In general,
Yeah, it'll blend in.
It should be the same population, it should be in the same percentage, but I mean, it has to match the forest that's in that area. I mean, we're not putting back a landscaped area for replacement of undisturbed forest.
Well, I mean, when I suggested Andy Leonard, I wasn't suggesting it as far as landscaping like a hotel. I've worked actually personally with Mr. Leonard on reclamation activities such as this. He's very experienced, and I suppose we could take his pallets and have Ecotech review them, you know, from a biological standpoint.
Yeah, there definitely needs to, in my opinion, there definitely needs to be a biologist involved in this.
So you could have Scott Jordan take a look at it, or Paul McManus.
Yeah, and I believe the CMR also has some guidelines for riverfront remediation as well that need to be reviewed and followed.
Yeah, it would essentially be on lines of the replication, as you had suggested, you know, percentages of the native plants that would blend in. And we really have to examine those closely, and I think that's where both Andy and Scott Jordan would come in to make sure that we're not accidentally putting something that's invasive that's going to take over.
So I guess my question to you, sir, would be to move this along. For Lot 1A, you have about 3,172 square feet of unpermitted mulch area. Would you be willing to have them replant and re-establish that entire area?
The entire area, I honestly have to think about it.
Okay.
Because the back of the house, it does not have a big backyard.
Yep.
That mulch area, especially the flat, we use it. You know, we play football on it. We play catch.
Is there a number you could commit to at this point?
No.
Okay.
If I had a topographical map that showed the contours and I could
Do we have
see
the original file?
which is not usable at all,
It's a
I can
massive
definitely,
file.
Right.
you know, figure out some. But to commit to all of it, absolutely not at this time.
Okay.
Not going to do it. I need more information. I need a plan. I need to see what kind of impact it's going to have on me and my family. And
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, I was actually around your backyard. I didn't go in your backyard, but I was around it over the weekend. It's a cool lot.
yeah, it's nice. I mean, we got it because it's a corner lot. You know, I enjoyed that section because I don't have to mow it, but we can still play pass on it.
Right.
And if we have to bring it back to, you know, natural state, I don't know how many trees that means. I don't know what the implications are in terms of, are you not allowed to do anything with it? Do you have to leave the leaves that fall in that? Are you allowed to leaf blow that area? Because essentially now half my backyard is reclaimed. So I need to know these details before I can give any kind of answer.
Sure. That's fair enough. All right.
Fair enough.
So let's move on to Lot 2A. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Emily Zafino, 155 Reservoir Road. I'm kind of in Blair's position after hearing all this, but I need to talk to, the other parts of my
Sure.
family here. I came here because I want this mulched area gone, so,
So if they were to come back and restore this mulch area as kind of replicated as native forest, would you be open to that, or do you need to think about how much area you'd be willing?
I need to think about how much, and then, like you said, answering those questions of then what with this land? If I give all of this back and it's just forest, will there be a barrier put up there that we don't go beyond that and it's not to be disturbed, or what does that look like after this? So I would need to have those questions answered first.
Okay. So the information you're looking for is you want more detail on what the
On land use afterward,
replanting
yeah.
and land use is.
Yeah.
And I heard her
And then
ask
about
if
a
there'd be a
barrier.
barrier.
So at the back side of my mulch is a sheer drop-off. I've had plenty
Yep.
of occasions where my 2-year-old toddles right out to the edge of that, and I'm
Yep.
sprinting across the yard.
Sure.
I mean, they did have to go back down there to take care of a well that was down there next to the water, and he told me that he would grade that out a little bit when they came up, but they were in there and out of there fast, and they didn't do it. They actually made it steeper. So
Okay.
it's pretty treacherous back there. I am concerned about what to do in that area, or having some kind of a barrier.
So you'd like to see some sort of barrier, whether it was, it sounds like you'd like a fence or something like that.
Something.
Or,
Did you happen to peek out there? I know you walked on the grass line, but you know that's pretty...
Oh, I know it's back there. Oh, yeah. No, I totally understand what you're talking about.
okay. All right.
And like I said, we'll talk to the neighbors and see how they feel about that. I don't know, it's red on mine, I don't know
Well,
what
I
it
mean,
is on
these are
yours,
the things,
but...
this is why we have you here. These are things we
Right.
want to hear in our consideration now that we have all the numbers secured and all the engineering done.
Okay.
And we verified the numbers through our own independent surveyor. We want to hear how you guys feel about
Yeah.
remediation plans.
Okay. What does open replication mean?
Does what?
Open replication? What does that mean?
Open replication.
Yeah, you said this before.
Open replication essentially is,
Let the forest grow back. Is
Yeah.
that one? Okay.
in riverfront, it would normally mean let the forest go back. If it was actually a hardcore bordering wetland, it's a little different story. But in this case, for our purposes of discussion, it's let it reestablish itself, yeah.
So that wouldn't be any kind of plantings or anything put in?
Well, we would put some plantings in for a head start, which is what I was talking about, and it would have to be a certain percentage. But it's not like we're gonna sit there and jam the thing full of trees and shrubs to the point you can't move through it. You have to give this material room to grow over the future, so, it's not gonna be crammed in. It's gonna be spaced out plantings based on the indigenous life that's out there now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lot 3.
Dan Rudy, Lot 3, 143. I'm neighbors with Emily and Mike, and I am more than willing to talk about side plantings within the area shown to reclaim the amount of square foot to keep the mulch area.
So do you have a garden bed on the south side of
It's a
your lot?
play set. It's a swing
play
set for the
okay.
kids, yeah.
Okay, so,
It's a swing set.
Swing set, yeah, play set, yeah.
but for the most part, in the center portion of your yard, you'd like to keep that mulch area?
Yeah.
As is?
As is, or if we give back enough of the side yard to meet the requirements, have that mulch area become developed land So we can, not say do what we want with, but have a little more flexibility to make it look nicer.
So to maybe quantify in some sort of percentage, if you were to go, say, 25% on the interior, from the property line in either way, would that be something so that you have about 50% that would go all the way back to the mulch line? Would that be something you'd be open to?
Yes, because I think on our numbers, it's shy of just 3,000 square feet. So if I had to come up with, 1,000 square feet on either side of the property, we could definitely do something in the middle. And plus, it does provide a little bit of privacy between the lots, which I see that's what they were probably trying to do in the beginning anyways. But the goal is to keep the backyard as clear as it is now and have the ability to make it look better.
I guess just a point of clarification with the commission is that if Dan does do something like that, the mulch bed, he is free to remove the mulch and put grass, provided that you replicate it on the sides with, that's the commission's understanding as well?
Yeah, that it's considered developed land, so it's able to be modified, I guess, if you will. Yeah, but we'll, like I said, the side is definitely a very viable possibility.
Okay. Good.
It's very good to know.
I'm
good.
Any other information that you need from us? Or you just, like everyone else, you kind of see if we're going to reestablish stuff and replicate, you want to see what that replication's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want, I believe they said biologically match what's there. The back is full of just, and I call them pricker bushes, so I don't want that there. I mean, these things have thorns on them an inch long, so trees, some
We're speaking the
nice
same language in
bushes.
different words.
Yeah.
One of the things I had said was the plantings that would be agreed on would have to be non-invasive.
Okay.
The stuff that you're looking at is very heavily invasive and a real pain in the tuchus.
Yeah, because that mulch area you guys talking about, half of it's already gone, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you took a good close look
Yeah.
at my arms here, I've got so many scars from that stuff, it's not even funny.
Yeah, so that, I think just, see what type of trees they're putting up, just make it look nice. At the end, that's all we're looking for.
Now, once the areas are established, to getting to Jack's point, would folks be open to some sort of demarcation, whether it be boulders, something like that, just to demarcate around the areas that shouldn't be further developed, so hey, if we're, to the right of the boulders, that stuff's off limit, everything else, you'd be open to something like that?
A boulder will stick out like a sore thumb?
Clarify what a boulder is too. They're not talking about a 8-foot round rock.
2 or 3 foot stone or something.
It's a variety.
Yeah, I mean, part of the side of the yard that we share with Emily, she's right, there is such a steep drop off there, you can't do anything with that anyway, so, again, that mulch, take all of it back you want, because you can't use any of it.
Right.
A tree would be nice, but I'm not gonna be too picky, I guess.
Well, the other thing we might want to consider, because the whole tone of this, what we approved has changed, and we're redoing the whole thing. We still have all those conservation signs that we could tack on, like the newly planted trees.
Yeah.
They look ugly.
You think boulders are better?
Yeah, I'd go with a boulder over a sign, I guess.
Well, and the tag's like this big.
Oh.
So behind the boulder or whatever we put there, I know we can't develop further, but there's like dead trees and stuff. Like, can we clean any of that out, or we have to just, you can't touch it?
The deadwood?
There's.
I think hand clearing's been.
We actually approached that issue with your neighbor here, and you too. And what we actually agreed on was that if you want to go in and just like hand clear out some of the dead wood, that's fine. If you're going to go in with heavy equipment,
That's different.
it's different in that area.
I
I know a good tree contractor, but
I've said it before at previous meetings, it's my understanding that the hand removal of down deadwood is not a regulated activity.
if it's down stuff, yeah, if you're not doing any,
I don't care with that.
if you're not doing any canopy removal now.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
Mr. Rudy.
Thanks, Scott.
Lot 4?
Let's see. So, in terms of my lot, I'm in the same boat as Dan. I do not want, I want to be able to reclaim that mulch bed as part of my backyard.
Yep.
I would be willing to concede some of the side yard
Okay.
within the riverfront area. I think the
So the side yard that's been developed as grass, reestablish that?
yes, I mean, up to the riverfront area.
Yep.
So-
Would you be open to the percentage being close to what we can on the side yard? You know, if we can get close to the square footage of the unpermitted mulch?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm looking at is, you know, based on my very rough calculations, I'm talking about, looking at probably like a 15-foot wide strip coming in from each side of my yard to get back to what's in the mulch area.
Okay.
Seems a little big to me. I think what I want to see it on plan, be able to mark it out in my yard, see what it's going to look like, digest that a little bit.
So you want to look at what you're envisioning, that 15-foot wide strip?
Yeah.
How that would go, maybe possibly from where they've intruded into the unpermitted area, all the way up possibly to the 200-foot riverfront boundary?
Yeah.
On the side and
Yeah.
each side?
It's really just the length I'm fine with, it's really just the width. It's
Okay.
that's gonna be the,
Because that's what's gonna either get used back.
Right.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, Dan has a 15-foot wide strip, I have a 15-foot wide strip, now you have a 30-foot wide strip, you know, between, so it's gonna be kind of a little bit of balance there. So I guess the bigger point is, you know, I'm willing to give up some of it, but probably not all of it.
Okay. So if there was and I'm speaking collectively really for lots 1 through 4, if you had that in 5 really on the south side, if you had that wooded barrier there, if you were open to that wooded barrier there, I think it may make sense for someone to go out there with a tape measure or something so you can see, or demarcate, put some stakes down so you can see, okay, if this is collectively 20 feet wide or 25 feet wide, how's it going to look? And then we can, whether that's going to be acceptable to the residents or not.
Yeah.
I'll put it on all of you.
Okay.
Because I think if, it's a lot easier for me to.
Yeah, I was showing you
Put
the
this in
prices on
all
this
send it to the commission, distribute it to the abutters. 'cause,
Yep.
I mean, lot 2 alone, if she's willing to give up all the mulch, that's 6,000 square feet.
Okay, yeah, we
Right.
That's more than half of the area, proportion.
You probably.
If I can show a plan that qualifies that 6,000, maybe 1,000 more or so of lot 1. That might be the full 11,000.
Yeah.
It's something that I can distribute to them, you can all review it.
Well, and I think if we can come up with details that they need, one, I really think we need to provide them with a topographic plan so they can understand, just based on, then they can go out their lot and go, oh, okay, here I am, here's where it falls, you know, all this is great, you know.
I sent my dog cat today, so he's got a cat now he can play with too.
Yeah.
Good.
Didn't have the topography, but I can send him
Yeah.
something we'll talk about.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a question?
Yes, Jack.
So if we're proposing that we allow the folks to essentially take the red sections, both dark and light, and drag them all the way down to the front of the street,
Not the street, the 200-foot riverfront.
just down,
Stay in the riverfront.
Just the extent of the color, the green.
To this.
Just to
just to the edge here?
Right here.
Oh, okay,
Not the whole.
Can't trade, you know.
yeah. But it's all within the 200 feet.
But you're,
No,
Yeah, that's the 200-foot line right here.
way back there.
Right,
but you're taking
Oh, I see.
the disturbed green, which is the grass area,
yeah,
and you're making it now
okay.
restored.
Yeah, that won't make it, it was a lousy idea, I apologize. I thought you could pull it all, we were suggesting you could pull it all the way down, but you're right.
That's why it ends up being such a wide strip, because the lengths, you're limited on the lengths. I guess like, we brushed over it quickly, but the biological survey, it would be pre-clearing of the forest. We would replicate that condition, not necessarily the condition, because it may not have fully restored itself.
Correct.
So it's going to be
But
something else.
if it was post-condition of the forest, you guys could go and clear more.
Yeah, well, that's why I brought this to say, hey, I think it's a little bit better than it was before.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I guess just for the record, I don't want to give back any of my as-developed yard. So this is, I'm compromising in order to get this thing resolved and, forward, but I do not want to.
Understood.
I'm not happy about having to give back land that I've taken, or I've started to use, so.
I would just say for the record that we've had some people come up here and not commit to giving anything back. And we need a solution here. If someone's not going to participate in the solution, well, then we might, it's like they're in violation now, and we'd have to do something about that, in my view. So.
I agree. I think we're still a couple steps.
Time to
I think
digest
we're a
what's
couple
going on.
steps from that, and I think we're advancing the conversation productively tonight.
I agree with that.
So.
All right. So lot 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Kevin McGinnis, lot number 5.
Mr. McGinnis, how are you tonight?
Excellent. So
You have some area that was unpermitted. Would you be open to any sort of replication on your property to especially, just based on the plan we have, it looks like if there was some sort of replication along the south side of your property that might be able to, help towards that percentage where.
my preference would not to be give up that because it's all grass. We don't have any mulch out there whatsoever. As per the previous discussions and approval I've had, I've already spent thousands of dollars to restore that entire back area that was just absolutely demolished with slash and debris.
Yep.
So I think we've already done so much work back there. I'd prefer just to keep everything exactly the way it is. But
You've got the pollinator, the gardens back
yeah,
there.
and that's gonna say was my one ask.
Would that be in that red area that's marked on these plans?
It's actually not. It's a little bit further deeper than that. Yeah.
Okay.
So my request, and like Carl and Matt, we talked about on, when you guys came out, is just getting those actually on the approved permit, just so there's no question in the future, even though it's already been approved by you guys, but.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lot 6?
They're not here.
They're not here? Okay. And then lot 7? Are they not?
Hello.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Name?
Mike Allen.
Hi, Mike.
By the way, if I could just interrupt for a minute. When you guys came in last year because of the minor violation on the tree issue that we had, I noticed all of a sudden an uptick in people coming forward and filing for tree work within our jurisdiction. And each and every time I noticed people that I hadn't dealt with before, they all said, well, I have M&M Tree coming to do the work, but they told me it's within 100 feet of a wetland, so I have to have conservation come out and take care of it. So I wanted to say thank you to you guys for doing that.
Well done.
Very well done. Much appreciated.
So, Mr. Allen, your lot's kind of a unique lot in the plan because you're the only lot that has a significant amount of undeveloped area.
Permitted area.
Undeveloped permitted area. And I think your total lot square footage is probably, it's less than what was permitted that's been developed. So I know that the developer would hope that the area that you have established now, they'd probably want you to commit to leaving it, your lot as is.
Yeah, I do know, yeah, she already said no. But I do know that when Carl and I went out and looked at the lot, there was an area on the side of their property that was in the riverfront that looks like it's being maintained as a vegetative buffer between you and your neighbor. That's what it looked like.
In
Okay.
that blue area?
Yeah, the undeveloped blue, right.
So is there
Yeah,
an
our
area?
neighbors haven't done anything with their lot yet, and I think they're waiting to see how this all pans out before they do anything, so they haven't touched anything.
Well, on your property, the undeveloped area on the left-hand side, which is where the undeveloped area
Oh, yeah,
is, on the
yeah.
side of your driveway,
Yeah.
you've got a nice little vegetative buffer that hasn't been touched, and I'm assuming you guys were keeping that there
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
privacy purposes.
So I mean, if that area is part of that blue area here, then that's a net gain if they leave it like that.
Well, here's the problem, that 3,800 square feet that they have there is already counted in the remaining allowable, I think.
Oh, it is?
So,
No, it's not.
Oh, it is. This is.
It is.
It's remaining allowable?
Total of everything in the numbers.
yeah. So that's why I said this is kind of problematic, because,
Yeah, well, that makes it
They expand
problematic
it, gets
because
worse.
that needs to be removed, because that was previously approved and they're entitled to use it. So you can't, that's double dipping. You can't do that.
right, so that means the remaining allowable is 9,300 minus roughly 3,800, which,
It's 32, 38 is the net, because there's permitted and unpermitted.
No, that's not correct.
32, 38, because they have the unpermitted grass.
Is that this one? Okay.
Yeah, that's on that lot.
So that means your remaining riverfront allowable 6,000, and your goal's 18,000.
Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Machete wasn't here when we brought it before, though. There's another thing that should be corrected on this,
Yep.
is that corner has been developed. On the right corner here is squared off and developed. So the good news is you have undeveloped land, so you could trade and end up with a net equal. But if you did that, then this undeveloped piece actually would have to get smaller to compensate for the corner that's been squared off.
Where is the squared off corner, Carl?
Right here. There's a pool. That's a pool. Nice looking. It's
Okay.
covered up. And there's a fence that goes across the back.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, the fence is this line here.
Yeah.
But it continues straight to the property line and then
Got it.
straight here.
thank you very much.
So that little bit of area, maybe you could trade off for the undeveloped and you
Yep, thank you.
net zero.
Well, I mean, to me, after going through the lots, Lot 7's kind of, that's a big one, but I think, Mr. Marchetti, when you go through and you sketch these up, I mean, I think you're going to have to go for that full, 13,000 or so square feet. Try and find that without counting the undeveloped on Lot 7 at this point.
It's fine.
Okay. All right, with that, I mean, I think that's a good kind of taking temperature where we're at in terms of the development and where we need to go. Mr. Marchetti's going to develop plans with his vision of what a possible solution would be that then the residents can comment on as well. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just had a chance to talk to my neighbor and via phone.
Are you all set with me?
Partner.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Spot number 2. I don't know
Yes.
if you know. So, I don't know, Blair, if you want to just confirm this here.
Did you want to come up, considering you're part of that discussion?
Yeah. So just a discussion about him keeping his flat part of the land. I don't know, Brian, if you can figure out at what part it starts to sort of raise that elevation on our side. But I know he wants to keep that flat land, but wherever it raises in elevation and then throughout the back of our mulch area, Lot 2, I would like there still to be some kind of a buffer zone, like maybe I don't know what that would be, but a short buffer zone between my grass and where this area would be. And then we also talked about the side yards.
Any
too.
sort of width on that sort of buffer?
I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 feet or something like that, or 3.
I'm not understanding what you mean by a buffer zone.
Well, right now, it's a huge mulch area. I want it to be not a huge mulch area. Just sort
You
of
still want like some kind of mulch.
some kind of a ground cover that's
cover.
not invasive or growing or
I understand
anything. It's
that.
going to be
Okay.
edging
just
my
didn't understand.
grass, so,
So you want a ground cover strip, 5 feet wide, that kind of goes along that
right,
back edge?
before any.
That back edge, that
That's my property,
That's
yeah.
not
your
my
property.
That's
Okay.
his is, yeah.
Yeah, so, assuming that was done, we'd want it to blend in, look visually appealing to go into my yard, into those chips. But I would like to keep a portion of the chips as usable area. In terms of actual dimensions, I'd have to go out there and, pace it out and see, but, there's room to move. Again, I'm all new to this. I need more information. I'd like to see proposals. I'd like to see contractors. I'd like to see some examples of what you can expect. So before I commit to anything, I'd like to see more of that.
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
And to talk about like sort of the privacy screenings and the sort of my red zones here, my grass area that's not permitted, it looks like my mulch bed that I paid a lot of money for is within that unpermitted grass area. What would happen with that area?
Right
Would it
now,
stay there? I mean,
what
it's-
we've talked about is if we're gonna reestablish within the unpermitted grass, it would probably be strips along the property boundaries, either north or south, left or right on the plan.
And it is possible that a lot of what you got there is just going to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
certainly, yeah.
this unpermitted grass area between lot 1 and 2. If we're going to reclaim some of the chips, you could cut that in,
Right.
have the natural area kind of move into the 2 yards and act as a natural barrier.
Yeah.
So, there's some stuff to move there.
Okay.
Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
I have one more thing, so, I don't know if this helps or not.
Okay, why don't you come on up, because we'd want to hear you in the microphone.
So one more thing for lot number 5.
Yes.
We've actually planted 5 fir trees that are 6-7 foot fir trees. There are 3 balsam fir, or 3 Douglas firs and 2 balsam firs that are in the unpermitted grass area. Does that actually help contribute to what we would consider?
We'd have to mark it out.
And it's all in the 200-foot zone.
Yep.
We'll have to mark it out.
We'll mark
So
it
I
out and
think-
take a look.
Yeah, because I think that should absolutely count toward part of this area that we're giving back, because it's already a natural.
It won't be grass very long underneath the tree.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. These things are already 6-7 foot tall trees, so it's going to be, and we
No,
built
thank you
it
for that.
to.
We'll make sure that we document that and consider it.
It's an excellent point. Thank you for
Yeah,
raising it.
perfect, thank you.
Yep. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, I guess what do we expect next? Like, Brian, you gonna work with the residents? Are you gonna work with
Yeah.
the residents through us? Like, if you could work with them and come up with something to bring back to us?
Yeah, I've been communicating with Mike, if you guys all agree, it's fine, he can be the point. And I can communicate with him, and I'll keep Matt in the loop, and I'll CC him on all the emails, so you see what's going on.
What's the timeline? How long does that take?
I could put a plan together by next week.
I'm kind of assuming you're, the guy you're working for is driving all this because he wants to do something out back and he can't do it
No.
until all this is done.
Who's driving this is the money man who funded this for Harbor Plaza.
As I had stated earlier, the money person wants to make it right. Didn't know what was going on over here until we informed him.
Okay.
So it's in everyone's best interest on my side to get this done as soon as possible.
So would folks be open to having another meeting here to kind of take our temperature? May not require all the residents, but a representative or all of you are welcome at, I'm thinking, the second meeting in February. Is that enough time, about a month?
Them to come up with something?
Yeah, thanks. When is that meeting?
That would be the 20th.
That's the school vacation week?
It is. Yeah.
Do we want to move to the first meeting in March?
Which would be March 6th.
March 6th?
That should be, we can, I could have a plan that works next week, and if it's something we distribute, everyone sees that. There's no rush to plan, we're not planting by March anyways.
But there's some back and forth going out to March 6th would probably be better.
Yeah, I expect we're gonna have iterations of, we see a first plan,
Yeah.
you move this here, move that there.
And if you guys can come up with something to bring back to us for March 6th, I think that, to me, that would be awesome.
Right.
Of course, you never know, February vacation, we have school-aged children, we might be wanting to get out of the house for a meeting.
Okay. Well, then, if that's the case, we'll keep, make sure they're on the agenda for the first March meeting.
Well, I'm keeping it on the agenda as a running item.
Yep.
So it'll be on, you might see it on the next agenda, even though it's on the next agenda, it doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna get together. That's something we'll all coordinate, but I always keep these items while they're going on as a running item, in case something comes up last minute that we need to bring to the commission's attention. So essentially, we'll all work together as a collective unit and finalize this stuff and get it done.
Mr. Chairman? I hate to miss an opportunity. We have all these people here, and would it be possible to just spend a couple minutes, and I'm sure everybody wants to get home, on what you can and cannot do in this area once we get it defined? I mean, it seems there may be a little confusion of what people can do beyond that border and what they can't do when they need to come to us and so forth. Matt, just a couple of minutes, just so everybody has heard the same.
Well, I mean, I have gone over with them, but to give you the Reader's Digest version again, we have the developed areas and we have the undeveloped area. The intent of the original plan was that there was supposed to be a certain area that was developed. The remaining area was riverfront. It was to be left undeveloped and in its natural state. So going in and doing some hand clearing to maintain the land with the trees, that's fine. You know, cleaning out some detritus, that's fine. Putting in structures, doing wholesale tree clearing, expanding backyards, that's a no-go scenario.
But pollinator habitats would probably be okay.
Pollinator habitats are fine. If anything, it facilitates native characteristics, and it's something we plant on our own conservation
Go
lands.
through there, go on walking trails.
Yeah, absolutely.
Access the riverfront and enjoy the beauty of the riverfront, all those sorts of things.
Yep, absolutely.
But it's a pollinator habitat, which is a good thing. Should they notify us or anything? Just because it's going to look like activity.
Well, I mean, they should let us know so we know what's going on, so I don't see somebody in there doing some work and I have to go charging in saying, hey, what are you doing?
That's my only point, right.
You know? Just give me a simple phone call or a quick email, usually takes care of that.
Great.
Thank you, Nick.
Good suggestion, Carl.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and we'll be in communication, and we'll see you at the first meeting in March 6th, I believe.
March 6th, yep.
Thank you.
All right. Matt, which hearing indicated they wouldn't, was it?
Nancy Bell.
Nancy Bell, all right.
Just so the commission knows, the Nancy Bell hearing, I found an email from Nancy Bell. Her representative is sick, so that's why they're not here.
All right. So I'm going to open that hearing so we can continue it to the next meeting. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a continued notice of intent by Nancy Bell for replacement of existing retaining wall at 51 Fire Road 19. I'll accept a motion to continue that hearing until the first meeting in February, which is
February 6th.
February 6th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rich, are you on?
Yes, aye.
He said
Katie
yes.
Childs?
Aye.
Bob Pease, Jack Rabbit? Aye. Carl Luck?
Aye.
And Ken Jones said aye as well, and I say aye. All right. We have one other hearing,
I don't think he's going to make it.
all right. So we're going to open this hearing and continue it till the first meeting in February 6th, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by Keith Bodwin for the placement of Bedoin for a seasonal dock at 264 Prospect Street, Lot 8. I'll accept a motion for continuance to February 6th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call vote. Richard Birch.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
All right, that concludes our hearings for the evening. Let's go through the remaining violations. Any updates on 101 Pleasant Street?
I actually got a visit from, prepare yourselves, from Danny Gardner today. Apparently, he is working with Cathal Brady and brought a contractor to introduce me because they wanted to, for some reason, start the remedial work now. And can't let him do anything because we have outstanding fines. So I informed him of that. He is informing the new landowner that no work can go on the property until the fine issue is resolved. I've also informed them that the clerk magistrate sent a letter to me looking to maybe schedule their own hearing, which I've passed by our town council to see how he wants to approach that, because they've taken note of the fact that I've sent out a ton of tickets and nothing has been paid. So the clerk magistrate actually decided to pull his own trigger, so we'll see where that goes from there. I'm still sending out $300 a day fines, by the way.
What's he up to?
About $4,000.
All right. Any updates on the remaining lots at Powellstone and Gravel, Leominster, Shirley Road?
I've asked Mr. Marchetti for a hard, fast date as to when to expect the NOIs. He's supposed to get back to me with that next week.
Okay.
I spent a couple of hours in his office going over his CAD. I went through his CAD files with him and went over all of the areas, all the resource areas in question. Any of you guys want to see it, I have a scrap drawing in the office that I'm having him revise of where all the buffer zones are. There is some intrusion in the 30-foot in one section that's going to have to be removed and remediated. There are other intrusions in the 50-foot no structure zone that were, as a result of tree clearing. We have the other area, if you're looking at the store, the area on the left where they're storing materials. We had a previous order of conditions allowing that land grading to take place. He is having that area reflagged, resurveyed, and he's going to go for a certificate of compliance on that portion, but he has to quantify everything with an as-built, so he's doing that. There was some tree clearing that was out of the buffer zone in the backside by where Robel Excavating is, so, we're basically quantifying everything that needs to be turned in for a notice of intent.
Okay. So you anticipate probably mid-February meeting?
That's what I'm expecting.
Okay.
There's gonna have to be two separate NOIs, so.
Yep. 55 Spring Street.
Submitted the as-bills there?
Come on up, Steve. Two copies, right? Yep. This one, I'll take this off your hands.
So that shows the patio with 3 stairs. And I identified there's a poly fence right there as well. The deck is still proposed, he hasn't put it on yet. You gave a negative determination, so that's still listed as a proposed deck. Again, that deck is cantilever off the house, so it has no posts or anything that come down to the ground.
Matt, can you refresh my memory? What was the violation on this?
Well, we were looking at a patio.
Yeah.
That appeared to be pre-existing by some aerial photographs that didn't give as much detail as what would have been desirable. So we're trying to account for whether or not that was a historical structure.
And I believe we asked them to come in and we didn't have an as-built to show the patio, so I believe we asked you to produce an as-built and bring it in.
Right, I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the commission requested this so that there would be an as-built of the lot as it exists from what everybody understands today. So if there were any changes from today forward, you would understand what was there and that there wouldn't be any question.
Okay, that's not, It's not my
I
understanding.
actually thought, excuse me for a second, I thought we had asked you to do the plan of the conditions as they were today because all of the work that was done was not on the original RDA. So anything that differs from the original RDA to today would still need to be filed as an amendment to that RDA or filed as a new RDA.
Yeah,
Well,
that is,
the deck with, the patio was there, Rich, and we showed from the aerials that it's essentially the same footprint?
Yeah, but the patio that was submitted in the RDA was not the patio that we got, correct?
It was red brick that was on the ground, and when they drove over it, it got crushed. So he just replaced it with, instead of red brick, white brick. And from the aerials, it appears to be the same size. So I just identified it.
It wasn't so much the aerials, it was just what was submitted with the RDA was not all of the work that was done. So we needed a plan of all the work that was done so we can amend the RDA so what is there today matches the permit that you received or the determination that you received.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
So we still need to just amend the RDA for as it exists today, because what we have today was not all permitted.
Was the wall permitted? The retaining wall that's on the plan?
Which retaining wall?
The one down by the water?
That's existing.
That was existing?
Yep.
yeah, Mr.
Carl,
Chairman.
go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, my recollection for sure is along the lines of Richard's, but the plan that we approved didn't, as you say, didn't show a patio at all. Matter of fact, it showed, and I remember on the site visit, a very large bush over here. So maybe there was a patio there at some point in the distant future, but there was a huge bush. And if you look at the approved plan, because when we did the site walk, I noticed the bush and it was substantial. And I asked if that was going to stay, and the answer was yes. And he said, please add it to the print so we know what's going on. The other thing that, now I haven't seen, I don't know where the aerials are. I'd like to see them before we make any conclusions. But I'm very sure, this patio, this plan doesn't show that this patio, it shows the steps. There's, how tall is the wall that supports that patio? Probably
3 steps, about
18
7
inches or
inches,
so.
7 inches or so, yep, about 16, 18 inches.
16, 18 inches. There was no wall there.
Is what was proposed.
There might have been, yeah, so you see this large bush here? See these 2 bushes that are shown? We asked them to be put on so we would know that they were going to stay there. So there was no patio there, and I'm very sure for many years that there was no wall. If there was a patio, it was on the ground and followed the contour of the ground. Today, there is that's a big retaining wall that's 18 inches high, which we've had people in here come and ask to put such a wall in, and we've denied it.
Yeah.
So I'm very concerned.
The purpose of the wall, though, was to take care of the recharge from the roof. So that's all stone underneath. So it's a pervious surface, and it now has crushed stone in it to take care of all the recharge from the roof.
But it's still a wall that was not there previously, was not permitted, was not reviewed. And I think that's why we need a new filing so that we can have a hearing on that. Because that's an unpermitted structure. There's no question in my mind.
What's the, I know it's on both plans, the old one and the new one, or the existing and the proposed. What's the edge of the pavement? Was that a boat ramp? Or
Yes.
something that went down to the,
It's
that's still there, that's gone?
It's still there. Actually, the ZBA required him, he wanted to remove it, but the ZBA required him to put it back because there's deeded rights to the lots on this side of Spring Street to launch their boats there.
Okay. So that has to stay. Understood.
I agree with you, Carl. I think now that we have an as-built, we should get an amended RDA filing, Mr. Marsden, so we can have a hearing on what was originally permitted and what's been built and proceed from there.
Okay. So you want me to file a new RDA? Or file to amend the...
I think to keep it clean, just file a new RDA.
Okay.
Do the abutter notification. You have an existing abutters list that appears to be still valid.
if I'm doing an IDA, I wouldn't.
A butter notification is required.
Okay.
So you do have a list from the NOI, which is still valid. So you can still use that. I mean, I did double check it. And I'll put you on for February 6th.
Okay.
Good.
Fortunately, we have a week leeway.
Matt, could we get the, whatever aerials, whatever, because that was the big question many, many months ago, is some documentation to show that the patio was there. Could we put those on the web, on the cloud or something, so we can see them?
Well, and I think it'll be very informative for the commission. Now we'll be able to go out and do a site walk, and we'll have the as-built plan, so, and be able to compare, and I think that's great,
That'd be
actually.
great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Marsden.
Very good.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, any updates on Emerald Place Beach?
Well, we had Mark
Good
Burson
meeting
here,
last
and
week.
he was gonna do more work on whether it's a road.
Yep.
I'm just keeping it on the agenda as a running item.
For that, they did grade it again, and I don't know if it's rained since they graded it, but I don't see any erosion on there at all right now. Looks good at the
Okay.
moment.
Any updates on Shady Point beach erosion?
Not at this point. I had other issues that were taking my
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, on that point, though, I was going to bring it up in the minutes, because I have changed the minutes. We issued an enforcement order, and all these other ones have an EO on them. Has that enforcement order been issued? We voted one on the 19th of December.
Okay, what, did I not list it correctly on the agenda?
No, he.
Well, I'm just asking if...
Yes, but did I not list it correctly in the agenda?
Yeah, it's the only enforcement order item we have that doesn't have EO in front of
Okay.
it.
Well, Reservoir Road didn't have it either.
I don't know if there's an enforcement order on that.
If you want me to put EO on it,
Yeah, and
I'll categorize it as an EO.
can we make the EO available to review on the cloud or whatever? Just to see what, because I don't know what it says.
Carl, which one? Shady Point?
Shady Point, yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good suggestion. New business. Bob, do you want to talk about some grant opportunities for trails?
I'm attempting to apply for a grant. I'm attempting to have the town manager apply for a grant for trails. The minimum grant is $10,000. The grant would pay for, mostly for signage. I proposed to, I met with the MRPC GIS team today. They would take and participate in the grant, and that I would put money in the grant to pay them to take and create the signs, because the signs would be maps, you are here maps, with a little sticker on it that shows, and we put one at every trailhead and at every trail intersection. It would also pay for like text signs saying, leaving, Lunenburg Conservation Land, entering private land, kind of thing. It would pay for posts, would pay for more trail markers of different colors. And I guess I'm just looking tonight for a vote. I don't know if I'll actually come up with $10,000 worth of cost. It's a potential grant still, but it's due February 1st, and this is the last meeting before February 1st, so I guess I'm looking for a vote to take and say that we can attempt to apply for this grant.
Would they cover gates as well?
Huh?
Would they cover gates as well?
You bet. If you have other ideas for like what we want, it's like...
I think gates, we need probably a couple gates, and then some materials for signs, like kiosks. We need a couple of those.
Well, I'm sure at a number of the large lots that we have, some new gates or updated gates would be.
I can think of, off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 gates.
The trouble is I need a
cost.
A cost.
I'll get on that. I'll work with you on that.
Okay, I need a
Like
cost
soon.
for the gate. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Because that will help me get the magic number of 10 grand.
I'll try to do that tomorrow, Friday.
Thanks. But it's required to have a 20% match, but the match can be in kind. And I expect that we'll be able to fully fund the in-kind match through volunteer hours. But nonetheless, Heather would like us to take and have some kind of grant, like saying, oh, the Conservation Commission would be willing to spend some of their timber rights fund if it came to that. And that they gave me the go-ahead to try to apply for this grant.
I think that's an appropriate use for that money anyway, that's
Yeah.
what we've talked about.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we allow Bob to move forward and apply for a grant from the state through the town manager.
A motion second?
Second.
Discussion?
Motion second, discussion.
Discussion. With regard to the funds that we would have to put up, is Heather suggesting 50/50 cash? The only reason why I say that is on our stormwater committee, the consultants advised us that cash does help us edge towards receiving that grant. And so if you actually put some money up front as well as volunteer, you're better off. So if we're looking for 10,000 and they're looking for 20,000 in contribution, so that's two grand.
Yeah.
And so we go 50/50, so
$1
we're
grand
only
cash.
spending $1,000. So that'd
Right.
be, that seemed to me like, okay, that's a good hit. Why don't, and so we approve up to 2,000, but go for 1,000 or something like that.
Right.
Because that's a winner, that's a good deal, if they're willing
Yeah.
to contribute that much.
And you're right, I've seen that in grants. You get more points for.
More points for
if it's
cash.
Yep.
yeah.
Good, we have a motion, and we have a second. Roll call vote, Richard Birch?
Aye.
Katie Childs?
Aye.
Bob Pease?
Aye.
Jack Rabbit?
Aye.
Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carl Luck?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes.
Thank you.
5% fee for online files, Matt, any update on that?
Yeah, I was gonna have the language done for you guys today, but I haven't had the chance to get to it because of 2 enforcement issues I've been working on.
Okay. Let's move on from that then. Any updates on the work at Small Town Forest?
I left that agenda item on there because you guys asked me to, so.
Okay, and any updates at 123 Hollis Road?
Gary Goldrup actually did reach out to Mass Audubon to do a walk. Hasn't gotten a response yet.
Okay.
Can I ask about Small Town Forest? Last time I was up there, like there's a place where there's like posts on the side and there's a log in between them. Were we planning to put a gate there?
We're planning, I think the eventual goal is to get a gate up there. I think that when Lakeview was up there doing the stonework, they sunk 2 telephone poles so we could put a chain or something across temporarily.
Because I would prefer if we had a chain that we could like take down if we wanted to get in there for maintenance.
Yeah,
or,
no, I think that would be a good idea. So I think that was the intent of those 2 telephone poles.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate goal is to get a steel gate in there,
Okay.
which would probably be on that list for the grant. But yeah, we can try to figure that out.
Thanks.
Okay.
They put the gate there, Bob, and they also, I believe, cleared off to the right-hand side at the top of that landing for handicap parking.
They
Yeah,
did.
They did, that's
They
there.
did.
Yep. And then from there up to the clearing is an ADA compliant grade. So that does give us handicapped access out into the that first viewing area.
All right. LSIC. So we have continued discussion on the draft order conditions on the agenda as well as an update on drawdown levels. Come on up.
Kyle, did you do anything with that?
Where is it?
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. So I understand that I haven't had a chance to look at them, but you sent Matt your comments on the draft order of conditions.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that today.
I don't think that had been distributed yet to the members at large.
No, like I said, I've been having trouble with the email today because of internet problems. and
Mr. Chairman,
the resetting of the
which
server.
draft, there's 2 drafts that I know of.
Matt received one today from
This was one that was
LSIC.
sent today, and again, as I had just stated, I was having issues with email all day long, and with the internet. Also, I don't know if you guys got the email, our phone system is out because
Yeah, I got that.
the truck was nice enough to take it.
Maybe I misunderstood what you said. I thought you said we got comments on the draft order of conditions.
LSIC made comments on a draft order of conditions that they sent to Matt.
Okay, which draft order of conditions? Because
I haven't seen it,
Richard
Carl, I
created
don't
one.
know.
Matt, which one did you send to the LSIC for comment?
Did I send you a draft order? I don't recall. I've been sending out a lot of documents to a lot of people.
You sent me out Rich's draft that he shared with us at that
Rich's
workshop.
original.
Oh, that right, the one at the workshop you asked for. Now I remember. I couldn't remember all day long. It was killing me.
That would have been the one that was like, some of it was in green and some of it was in red kind of thing?
The one Rich did?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had made a couple adjustments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank
Yeah,
you.
so I asked him for that, and then we just went off of that draft.
So just procedurally, Mr. Chairman, clearly we weren't finished working on the order of conditions. So I'm afraid we may have exercised the LSIC by giving them something to review that hasn't even been completed by us.
Well, no, I think we kept them in the loop because I think Richard established the baseline of what he thought, so we could all work from that, and we'll be able to see the comments that they had on it when we get a chance to review it. And then, hopefully, we can come to some sort of agreement. So I think for tonight, work on the order of conditions is probably, won't really move forward because we haven't had a chance to review your changes yet, and the members haven't had a chance to digest them.
But we can go through it, I guess.
I mean, if you want to go through it now, you have plenty of folks here. I mean, I guess we can go through the changes you made and just talk through them. But, myself, I feel a little unprepared because I hadn't had a chance to review.
Yeah, I feel very, because I
But
would never get
it's
right
your
on
choice.
it.
I'm happy to go through them one by one.
You're the board, whatever you would like me to do.
Can we make
I'm happy to
copies?
go home, I'm happy to go through them, whatever you would like us to do.
Is that their changes?
No, this was
This was our working document.
This was Richard's working document, and then the stuff in red was the stuff that we talked about, that I made or suggested for the last meeting, and that we discussed at the last meeting. And then Carl was gonna go.
There were more discussion and changes and
I think we need more
additions even.
discussion.
Absolutely.
And I think in terms of moving this forward, I think we need to do some work before we talk about this again in a formal setting. Update on the drawdown levels. I understand that drawdown has stopped.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
But I have
Got down to about 15 inches.
15 inches?
I had actually requested that be put on because I'm afraid that maybe there's misdirection or not clear direction that may be negatively affecting where we are today. My understanding is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joanna, that the DEP basically directed that the dam be closed. My concern is that what level should it be kept at? It's my feeling that the drawdown was initiated. It came down to 25 inches according to the annual report we have. Then the rain got worse and it came back up. Right now, I believe the direction to the LSIC dam keepers, or Lake Shirley dam keepers, is to hold it at a foot or, plus or minus. You can't control it within, exactly, but it's a plus or minus inches. It's my feeling that they should be able to maintain the level they got to, which is 24 inches. And that they shouldn't be penalized because in between when they got to a level and the critical date, that lake came up a little bit, it seems that they should be able to hold it at the level they got to.
Okay.
The whole point of the...
Now, I do think from what I understand is that DEP's given some clear guidance on this. And
No, I don't think it's clear. If you...
Oh, I disagree. It's very clear.
Well...
DEP's guidance on this was that drawing down any further isn't going to have any meaningful effect on weed control, and they said it can stay where it is now. Now, as far as that 2 feet goes, I mean, if they had achieved their 6-foot drawdown, and they were getting weed control, and then rain came up, and it was during that drawdown period, and they needed an adjustment because of unforeseen circumstances, then yeah, I would agree with it. But at 2 feet, it wasn't going to make a darn bit of difference on the weeds. So the objective here is weed control. So again, my recommendation is to leave it where it is, and this is based on, and DEP is very clear as to what the circumstances are.
Okay, I've asked for the communications from DEP.
Again, Carl, I'm not going to go into this with you, but there is an ongoing.
Well, you're saying
other
they're very
matters.
clear, but I haven't seen it very clear. All I've seen is DEP saying, basically, stop the drawdown. That doesn't,
Well,
they didn't say any levels.
DEP said stop the drawdown. From what I understood from Joanna, the drawdown stopped.
Well, because DEP said to.
Right, right.
But they didn't specify a level, and the drawdown had proceeded to 24 inches.
I think they said stop. They didn't specify a level, but if they say stop, you stop. So now they're matching inflows and outflows. So,
Well, no, actually, they said, the only documentation I've seen from DEP, I believe, and I have it here, said close the dam. They didn't mean close the dam, because if you close the dam, it's going to pop back up. So you can't do exactly, literally what DEP said. I don't think they meant close the dam and have the lake pop back up and have the lake flood.
Okay.
No, they're well aware of the requirement for the maintaining of the flows. It's in the current order of conditions, which Lake Shirley Improvement Corporation right now is compliant with, because I've been going down there every day to make sure that those flows are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they are at this point. So DEP is well aware of that. I discussed that on the phone with Judy Schmidt to ensure that she knew that the flows were being maintained, because she asked me to verify them.
Yeah, the flows are being maintained. You can maintain the flow at 24 inches also.
So I guess Carl, what you're driving at is, do you want LSIC to have permission from DEP to draw down the lake further? So you're asking that we communicate directly with DEP to establish that 24 inches and is acceptable level?
I would like clarification and discussion with DEP to see if they would be amenable to bringing it to the level that it was at. The whole key of the drawdown and why you can't bring it lower, right, is because of the whole migration of the, critters and things, right? And that was all done. So it was down to 24. So I don't know why you wouldn't allow the lake to be maintained at the level it achieved.
If I might add just briefly, Todd.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
One
you,
thing
Bob.
to keep in mind is that the last time Lake Shirley was at a 12 or 14 inch below high water was November 11th. So basically the lake has been at or above full for about 10 weeks now. So I don't think it's really germane to the drawdown, a level that may have been achieved 2.5 months ago. I don't think that's the intent of the drawdown and the dates and the way that it is regulated and supposedly achieved.
I don't disagree with you, Richard. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that bringing it back down to 24 inches is really part of the drawdown procedure, especially given the late date.
Right.
It's supposed to be done so that everything that's living in that biozone has a chance to move. The water went from 12 inches to 24 inches and back up to 12 inches in a 10-day period. So chances are whatever was there and migrated has migrated back. And at this point with the temperatures, it has gone dormant. So to try to achieve that level again, I think is very counterproductive to the drawdown procedure as it's regulated and supposedly enforced.
Thank you, Bob.
The DEP issued an order to LSIC. LSIC obeyed it. Our agent enforced it. I don't understand why the commission as individuals or the commission as a whole would take and try and get involved in the middle of that. I don't understand what we're doing here. I just don't understand it, you know?
Well, I reserve my right as an individual to have any opinion I want, Bob. The commission as a whole is a different issue. I'm bringing up a point for discussion, and I think I have that right, and I think it's my responsibility.
Right, but,
So was he asking as a commissioner or as an individual?
I'm asking as a commissioner for the commission to revisit and perhaps discuss with DEP if that's truly the intent.
Benefit.
Of going. Drawdown is more than just about weeds. It's about the shore, it's about the silt coming back in the lake. When you draw down 2 feet in Lake Shirley, you have exposed, in some of these beaches, 10, 20 feet of shoreline.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not very deep, but there's a lot of very shallow areas. One of the advantages of drawdown is not just the vegetation. You're not going to do much about at 24 inches, but you are going to expose the ground. You are going to drag silt and nutrients, away from that shoreline. Mm-hmm. You're going to have movement because of the freezing and thawing of that shoreline. You're going to have movement in the soils, and so there are a lot more that in the GEIR. I mean, it's clear. It's not just about weed control. It's about these other factors that help nutrient issues.
Now,
so it's more complicated than just.
I guess I'm a little puzzled, Carl, because I don't understand why the people who are at DEP, who are experts in this, why they wouldn't consider those things when they make their recommendations to close the dam.
I don't know. That's why I'm suggesting a conversation with them.
Okay.
I, as a member, would like to see what the official ruling was with regard to, my impression was that whatever you were at on that date, that the end of December, is where you were allowed to hold it to. And that would include opening the dam up to allow it to be at that level up and through, I believe, the end of January.
Okay, but they made a request January 2nd.
Yeah.
To the state that said that they were still basically at full level. Mm-hmm. And they needed to go down for whatever purpose they needed to go down. Judy Schmidt's response was, yeah, you want to take it down so that, it's down like a foot, some of the soils are exposed, fine. But the order of conditions is about weed control, and it has to be about weed control. So on January 8th, I went and took photographs of the site in several different areas of the lake, sent them to DEP. DEP saw what was there. DEP realized it was down a foot. Mr. Patry confirmed it was down 15 inches. And the DEP ordered that the drawdown be stopped. Mm-hmm. And that the order of conditions was about weed control, and that's what it said in the email that you have. The order of conditions is about weed control, and that's why it was stopped. It's not about anything else. So, in a sense, by doing it, it's being compliant with the order of conditions. Mm-hmm. And it's the order of conditions that is the document that we have to go by here. Yeah. And that is what the state based their directive to me, which I in turn relayed to the Lake Shirley Improvement Corporation.
I've not seen any of the documents, so I appreciate Carl's concern that, why don't we just pass it around next time and then get a discussion when something unusual like that happens outside of our regular terms and conditions.
How could we have had a discussion, though? It was between meetings.
No. You could have put it on the cloud.
Yeah, but we wouldn't
You
have
can't do that.
wouldn't have been able to have a
You can put it on
discussion
the
about
cloud,
it.
but
You can't have a discussion.
You can't have a discussion.
We can discuss at this meeting, but I just haven't seen the document.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless it's
I
there.
personally don't feel a need to see the document. It's like, it's between the agent. I think the agent's doing their job.
I agree.
I don't think requesting a document, a public document that the DEP sends to the commission through our agent, I don't think requesting that says they're not doing their job.
I think...
I just like to know-
If you're going to make comments about my job performance, you need to give me a 48-hour notice, so please.
I
know
think
how
a
you
reasonable
interpreted that.
solution to this is if you have additional concerns you'd like us to relay to DEP, I think you should put those concerns in an email to Matt, and Matt could say, one of our commissioners had the following questions with regard to your order to stop the drawdown.
Okay, I can do that, and in order to do that, I need to get a copy of all the DEP communications so that I can properly prepare that document.
If Matt...
You have the DEP communication.
That's the only DEP communication?
That's the only DEP communication I got in writing.
Is it, okay. It doesn't talk about 1 foot or dates or anything else?
Somebody has their hand up in the audience.
I have a public comment, if that's...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ashley Braun, 607
Can you come up to the
Reservoir.
microphone so people at home can hear?
Thought I was
Thank you.
loud enough. I usually am.
Second the motion.
All right, so 607, thank you.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. We got a sense of humor at 10 of 10. So 607 Reservoir, my name's Ashley Braun. We actually had Judy come to one of our association meetings, and aside from the weed control and closing the dams, and I know not everybody at LSIC agrees with me on this, but we have a frozen lake right now. So I don't want those gates open because it's going to create more of an air pocket than there already is by the moving water under the ice. I like to go ice skating. My kids like to go ice skating. I saw somebody skating across the lake today. People like to go snowshoeing, whatever. People use their snowmobiles. I don't want a bigger air pocket under the ice. I don't want to entertain an idea of even opening the gates or bringing it to a different level or maintaining some level, because I don't want to see my neighbors go through the ice. I don't want to see my 2-year-old daughter go through the ice. It's not okay with me, and I would just like to state that above and beyond the weed control. I completely agree with the DEP's decision. Bringing down the water any further is not going to do anything for us this year in terms of milfoil, I believe. So, I mean, it is what it is. That's why we have a lake management plan in place that we're reviewing with you. We'll deal with the weeds this summer accordingly. I understand that the ice will damage some people's properties. It's unfortunate. It's Mother Nature. That's just what's happening. But I would like the board to keep in mind when we entertain discussions about the dam, people's safety should be paramount, and it should be taken into consideration as well. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for that comment. Yes, sir.
Gary Spint at 7 Ruth Street. My only comment, well, two, I agree completely with what Ashley said. Secondly, who's the higher authority here? The Conservation Commission or the DEP? I was always taught that if a higher authority outrules you, then, okay, there can be an appeal and everything else, but you go with the higher authority.
Thank you. All right. I think that concludes our discussion on the drawdown. And
Can I say something on the drawdown? Mr. Luck had said it as well, the Lake Shirley Dam keepers, and then there was some, an email about fines, impeding fines if the gates don't get closed. And the dam keepers don't work for Lake Shirley. We have no control over they're part of our association as members, but they're appointed by the town manager, by the Board of Selectmen. So they take the directive from the town manager, the DPW director, who was involved in all of this conversation. And there are, as Ashley said, there's differencing of, I'm nervous of spring. If we have a lot of rain, I'm very nervous. But we might not get any rain. You never know.
Nervous
and that's
for,
what I said to Judy.
Nervous for
if we get all this rain, well, now we're going to be flooded because my lake's full. Where usually come spring, I'm nervous I'm not going to fill my tub. Now I'm nervous that my tub's going to overflow into my living room. So, but if it doesn't rain, we're golden. But if it does rain and we have a heavy spring, that could impact us as well. Based on when it freezes, March was horrible last year. If you remember, we had like 4 big snowstorms in March, If that happens this year and it's still frozen, that's a concern with the ice.
Sure.
And what it's gonna do to people's walls, people's docks. But then again, Judy had talked of, and why I went to Judy at that meeting, she had talked about, really, you get your drawdown done by the 31st, and then they're more nervous of the layering effect of ice, that it freezes, then it rains, then it freezes, then there's moisture, and people can fall in, so they recommend closing it. And why I reached out to Judy was because Lake Shirley, as of January 8th, was still not frozen. There was no ice on that body of water. So I just kept saying, can we keep it open and get as much water out, because we get 3 inches a day, that goes out. Let's try to get as much water out before it does freeze, and then the minute it starts to freeze, we'll close them without a problem. So that's why we weren't being disrespectful and not shutting them on the 31st. We were going with the ice situation, and that there was no ice as of yet. So I didn't want you to...
No, I confirmed that with Judy, but I'm going to have to
Maybe.
double-check my photo catalog, but if I recall, on January 8th and then January 9th, most definitely, it was all frozen over. And I have photographs showing ice.
Oh, really? Because
A lot
not
of
from my
ice.
house. No, I was full body of water.
Yes, on January 8th, there was water on Sunset. On January 9th, it was frozen.
Okay. Yeah, I just know 8 when but I didn't want you to think we were being disrespectful, because that was not the case.
Okay.
No, I appreciate that.
Anything else, Joanna?
All right, so and Dominic, we met with Dominic, and are we, Lake Shirley, doing a new NOI, or are we doing an extension of our existing NOI?
It's an extension.
It's an extension, so all this is an extension of what we currently have. We're not filing a new NOI.
No, you're doing an extension.
Thank you, that's what I thought.
You've got an extension till April.
Right.
And I believe yesterday or the day before my email started flying around, I sent you a reminder to ensure that you send us a notice by March 1st for another extension, because your extension expires in April.
Right.
And I believe it's April 4th. So you have to send us a request a minimum of 30 days ahead of the expiration of that extension. Otherwise, legally, we're handcuffed and we can't extend it.
Okay.
So if you send that in on March 1st, even if it's an email request saying, we want to extend it, and you can extend up to 3 years, so you can ask for whatever term you want. The commission has the option of extending it, not extending it, making their own term, but you got to make sure you get that in, because if it's not in by that date, you know what I'm saying?
Can I do it earlier than that?
Yeah, you can do it earlier, but
What's the status of your present lake management plan? When does that expire?
That is reviewed during this process. And we're working, we met with Dominic for 4 hours on Monday. He didn't have any availability in the 2 weeks before Christmas. So we finally met with him once we did this. That went to him and Ken Wagner, and they gave their feedback. And then we started meeting on the lake, because the lake management plan does kind of correlate with this, even though it's not part of this. So we kind of working on both of them in sync.
It's my understanding, like, that the order of conditions is issued in reaction to the lake management plan. You know, like you guys propose a lake management plan, and then we approve it, and we issue an order of conditions that sort of like says, yeah, go ahead with your lake management plan, and this is what you have to report, and these are your due dates, and all that other good stuff.
basically.
But they're not reinventing the wheel with their lake management plan, they're just kind of tweaking the plan
Right,
they
and
are.
giving an update of where we
Right.
are with things in the plan that we said that we would be working on in the 3 years. We're just kind of giving you a
But it was I just want to make sure we're all reading from the same script, that, you know, when you file for your order of conditions, at the same time, you'll be you'll be providing an updated
yes,
lake management.
that is correct.
Excellent.
By the time we are at, here is our new, we will have the completed lake management.
Excellent.
Our revised, up-to-date lake management plan.
Thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the expectations are important to agree on. I believe, and the chair could correct me, I believe the expectation is we would get the updated management plan with the request for extension.
I would think that would be the most logical
Yeah.
course of action, so I would agree with you.
Yeah, it's what's written in the draft order of conditions, so I think that's not a leap. But I just wanted,
Yeah.
again, for an expectation point of view, so that's whatever the date you said for the extension, that's sort of the critical date
April 4th.
for the plan. And that gives us a month to review it, discuss it, so that, we can act.
So March 4th, we'd have their draft of the revised lake.
I think that's the intent and the direction we're going.
My email intention was to make sure that you didn't forget that date and miss it, because it would have tied our hands where we couldn't have been able to give you an extension. You didn't get it? Yeah. Like I said, my email's been acting crazy all week, so.
Okay.
They changed servers, so everybody's been having to adjust everything.
Any other points you want to discuss, Ron? No. All right. Then we're going to move on to our next order of business.
So I don't know, hopefully you guys will get it, because I think all my email issues are fixed as of this afternoon, like at 4 o'clock. But I sent out the markup that Joanna emailed me that I did get last night. Well, I found it last night, and I saw it today, and
Good.
read it this afternoon.
That's
and-
my email now.
Okay.
So I sent it out to everybody, so did you guys want them to come back on the 6th? And I figured I'd give you guys 2 weeks to digest it, or the 20th? I mean...
I think the 20th is probably better.
I was gonna say,
That's
usually
my
I have issues with
opinion
the first Wednesday.
individually.
So,
I'm fine with that.
I just want to make sure, someone gets here first. Me gets here first.
Yeah.
So, if, 3 people, 4 people have to come here on the 6th, that's what we'll do all the other, running the meeting.
well, what I'm gonna do, I mean, if you don't do an extension request by then, probably by the end of February, like the last week, I'm gonna send you another reminder so that we don't lose sight of that date, because I don't want you to lose your window. Because then we just have to, with all the work we're doing on this, we'd have to start from square one again, and it's like,
Well, we're going to have it on the agenda for the 6th, because I know we're going to be working through, after everyone has a chance to digest the changes you proposed, as well as some of the changes that we talked about at our last meeting. I know that we're going to do some work on it. So if you have a few of your members here on the 6th, I think it would be productive.
If the agenda falls like tonight does, we'll be done our meeting before you're even on your meeting.
Yep. It might. Thank you, Joanna. All right, certificates of compliance. Any?
we don't have any.
All right. Extension permit, Youngs Road.
We had 2 lots that we approved on Youngs Road a few years back. One was with a wetland crossing, one was without. The order of conditions that we issued essentially blocked off their ability to do any further wetland alteration, and they're about to, the orders are about to expire. They gave in a timely extension request. So my recommendation is to do a 3-year extension.
Are they working on those lots right now?
They're working on one of the other lots. There was more than 2 lots.
Yeah.
2 of them were the ones that fell under our jurisdiction.
Those are all those Bourne lots?
Yeah. So my recommendation is for a 3-year extension.
Any comments from the commission?
No.
Then I'll accept the motion for approval of a 3-year extension for, these are orders of conditions
Yes, both of them.
for Youngs Road
There should be some underneath the cabinets.
208-1072 and 1073.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call vote, Richard Birch.
You can't find them?
There's none yet.
Is that up there?
Katie Childs.
He keeps losing his internet.
Kill us.
I look. He
Bob.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Carl.
Aye.
All right. Meeting minutes.
I move we approve the December 19th minutes. There are like a few minor Scribner kind of things which I've highlighted in red, and I will give to Matt, but I have no other changes.
What, that was the 19th?
Yes.
You said? What about the 5th?
That's a separate motion. It's,
I have a motion?
Second the motion for the 19th.
Discussion? Because I have some changes, maybe.
You have some
One is maybe the same as Bob's, because I don't know what his is.
There you go.
On the December 19th minutes,
Did you hand out the?
no, these are my Scribner things in red. It's just of and
okay.
little, extra W.
So on the, yeah, you didn't note it. It's just more of a question. Matt's here.
Spit it out.
Me too. I want Matt to hear it because he maybe can just answer it.
You got me in. You got me in suspense here, Carl. What is it?
I know. I got to keep you on the edge of your seat.
Go ahead, guys.
Matt, just on, let's see which one. It's on my page 2. It's in the paragraph that starts, residents would report any muck silt removal from the shoreline. The third sentence is the Nashua River watershed will. That's the whole sentence.
Okay, sentence fragment. The Nashua River watershed will provide data for establishing a baseline because they've had years' worth of data.
Okay. Yeah, so that's fine.
I probably got interrupted with a.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Office.
I think it should say the Nashua River watershed will provide data from the Riffles project, for evaluating flows in the dam, below the dam.
Well, no, that's different. The Riffles is a separate program. They do a sampling program for like E. coli and nutrients all along that area. Mulpus Brook is a part of it, apparently.
Isn't that from the Nashua River Watershed Association? Yes. Yeah. So Riffles is part of the net.
No, Riffles isn't. Riffles is a state program.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Riffles. Oh, I thought that was sponsored by
Nope.
No, Riffles is under Fisheries and Wildlife.
I stand corrected and educated.
So yeah, that's a sentence fragment. I will definitely correct that.
Okay,
Thank you for
simple
pointing that out.
thing. The other thing on the last page, to the point earlier, under the shady point, we didn't capture that a motion was made to issue an enforcement order and seconded and voted on.
Okay, I didn't recall hearing it on the video, but I'll double check it.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I went and looked at it just because I seem to remember that. Because my recollection, not recollection, but it was that Richard actually made the motion. I think I might have sent it
out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it was done. I probably.
So we should just capture it here as a vote and emotions are important things in minutes.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, like I said, I got a lot of interruptions.
Bob, do you accept those amendments?
I accept all of Mr. Luck's amendments.
Second.
You don't really mean that.
Roll call vote to accept minutes of December 19th as amended by Commissioner Pease and Commissioner Luck. Katie Childs?
Aye.
Richard Birch?
Aye.
Jack Rabbit? Aye. Bob Pease?
Aye.
Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carl Luck?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. December 5th.
Second. December 2nd.
December 2nd.
Oh, it's December.
I'm sorry.
on the agenda?
Oh, December. I don't know. I was looking at January 2nd, like Bob was probably.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. December 5th.
Yes.
A little bit.
Right there on the agenda.
Oh, I thought we did.
Son of a gun.
I don't even,
I
yeah,
pay no attention to me. I don't know anything about December 5th.
me either.
We usually don't.
There was a meeting on December 5th, and I did send out minutes.
I thought my mute button was on.
I just forgot. I forgot all about him.
Everybody's dinging you tonight.
They went through the crack. I didn't review
We're
them.
going to put off the vote on the December 5th minutes because we don't have those minutes reviewed properly.
Matt, if the email is working again, could you just redistribute them, and that'll be
Yeah,
a
I'll
reminder
redistribute
for us to
it.
review them?
That's fine.
Has anyone reviewed
know.
January 2nd's minutes?
I have.
Yes.
I did.
Yep.
I'll accept a motion to approve
Well,
January 2nd's minutes.
I would just say that on January 2nd, I believe we took a vote on Ms. Takana's,
Takahana, yeah.
Takahana, and the minutes don't show that we took a vote to approve.
Okay.
We took a vote to
You
approve.
did take a vote to approve.
Yeah, we took a vote to approve it. It says, KL motioned and second the house and proposed garage area be reconfigured and, so it talks about the motion. It doesn't say that we've actually voted.
Right.
Okay?
Yep, I
And,
can add that in.
and under the Lake Shirley order of conditions, we said, at the end that Carl Luck, was tasked with noting his comments on the draft plan. Under old business, Carl?
Yeah,
You know,
no, I agree,
We
yeah.
said at the meeting,
Absolutely.
that Carl Luck would
Yep.
go away and
Yep.
add his comments in.
But I came back.
And, oh, good.
Yep, no, you're right, and I did, but we didn't talk about it tonight.
And I left before you did the minutes, and it says review and approval of December 5th and December 19th minutes, and I have a question here. Did you guys vote on it? Because it doesn't show any vote in the minutes.
No, you didn't vote on it.
Vote on it. That's why we're voting on tonight.
Oh, okay. So I move we,
I have some changes.
Oh,
I don't know what
let's-
process
let's-
you want to use here, but
let's listen to Mr. Luck then.
this is so much a change, but I would, on the first major paragraph there, after the sentence, CL felt that there wasn't enough information and we had valid questions that were not answered, that sentence. After that sentence, I would like to request that we add a sentence that says he, or Carl, or CL, whatever, was not satisfied with the alternatives analysis, comma, not being able to see the amended plan before voting, and not being given the opportunity to visit the site. Because I said all three of those things, and I'd just like to have them
Yeah,
captured.
that's fine. Actually.
And I can give you this.
Yeah, that would be a big help.
Yeah.
Because then I can just take and incorporate those changes.
This one, I could just email you it if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a bigger help. Bob picked up the...
Actually, yeah, email it, but.
They'll take the hard copy too.
Yeah, I can leave you
Just
this.
in case, 'cause-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave you this, but I can still email it. The area that Bob had mentioned there with the, that we didn't say approve, and maybe you said this, Bob, but in that sentence, just to clarify, it should say seconded approval of the house and property and proposed garage, and I'd like to have had only, because that's all we approved.
Yeah.
And then in the next sentence, which is little, and then stop there, and then have the next sentence be, before approval of the driveway, before approval of the driveway will be reconfigured to remain outside of the 50-foot no structure zone. And I
There you
think
go.
that's what we
I
agreed.
totally agree with Mr. Luck's comments there.
That's fine.
That was it. That's it, on top of Bob's.
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected by Commissioner Luck.
And
Bob. And
Second.
Motion second, roll call vote, Richard Birch. Katie Childs.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Turn it again.
Ken Jones. Carl Luck. Aye. And I vote to approve as well.
Rich, are you there?
All right,
again.
It's gone again.
I'm out of here.
No, he's here.
Abstained.
He abstained.
all right. Agent report.
What do you got?
We have legal updates and requests for regulation review. We have 183 Hemlock. We have,
Mr. Chair,
183, those
if I
are,
could, just for Bob leaves, maybe you don't have to. I did do my assignment of, relative to the order of conditions. I'd like to at least distribute my notes tonight. I'll work on that. While we're in open session.
yep.
So that everybody can see it before the next meeting. So, Matt, at some point, could you help me make copies?
yeah, if you want to just give me the material, I can copy it for you.
Okay. Are you going to report on anything on that, Matt?
Well, I mean, the 183 Hemlock, I have update to be made in spring, because we decided to just keep it on the agenda. 101 Pleasant Street, I think I already updated you guys on.
Yep.
842 Chase Road, I haven't heard anything else from legal. Open space, I think Mr. Pease covered
Talked
quite
about it.
nicely. LSIC in Hickory Hills, and Shady Point, we've already gone over those issues, and that would be it.
All right. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 6th at 7 PM in the Ritter Memorial Land Use Building at 960 Mass Avenue. With that, are there any other comments from the commission?
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, I'll
Mr.
be
Rabbit.
calling in from another country on the February.
All right.
Guyana.
Guyana?
Ghana is in Africa. I didn't know
Where's
the South.
Guyana?
Any other comments from the commissioners?
No. Amazon.
I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call vote. Richard Birch. Katie Childs.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Ken Jones. Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
I vote aye.
All right.
Shut her down.
Yes, sir.
My last name is Birch, not Birch.
Okay.